The Hellenic Initiative Canada, or for short THI, which was established in 2016, is a non-profit organization that brings together diaspora Greeks and Philhellenes to invest in the future of Greece through programs that are focused on poverty relief, healthcare, education, and training. THI Canada is part of THI Worldwide, established in 2012 to provide crisis relief and economic revitalization for Greece. THI, for a second year in a row, hosted the Delphi Economic Forum in Toronto. The architect of the Delphi Forum, Greece and Canada, is Simeon Tsomokos. The co-president of the Hellenic Initiative Canada is lawyer John Sotos. According to all accounts, it was a very successful forum that aspires to produce many benefits to both Greece and Canada. Greca TV covered the entire event and presents it for your information and assessment.
I'm Simeon Tsomokos and I represent the Delphi Economic Forum. Welcome all. Minister Champagne, thank you very much for joining us for the second consecutive year. Thank you, deeply. Minister Papathanasis, Minister Sanitakis, Excellencies, Ambassador of Greece to Canada, Madame Athanasiadou, Ambassador of Canada to Greece, Madame Vassy, High Commissioner of Cyprus, Mr. Leontidis, Ms. Parliamentary Secretary to the Canadian Minister of Tourism, Acting Minister for the Economic Development Agency of Canada, Madame Petrakis. We thank you deeply because you are helping us a lot for the organization of this event. Madame Triantafyllopoulou, again, thank you deeply for joining us. Member of the entire Parliament, Madame President of the Athens Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Madame Kounenaki Treboglou, dear Presidents, distinguished guests, friends. On behalf of the Delphi Economic Forum, we welcome you all to this second Toronto Economic Forum, which is organized in partnership with the Hellenic Initiative in Canada. Many thanks to the church and the organization, Mr. John Sotos and Mr. Alexander Georgiadis. We thank them very much. The forum, as you may know, is also organized in association with the Canada-Greece Chamber of Commerce based in Athens and the Canadian-Greek Chamber of Commerce based in Toronto. Many thanks to both churches, Konstantinos Katsiganis and Vasilios Tsianos. The forum has also the active support of the Canadian Embassy in Athens and the Greek Embassy in Ottawa. Ambassador Shelley, thank you. We are delighted to have you in Athens. And you are a very able and dynamic ambassador. So I hope we have many projects together to come either in Greece or in Canada. Ambassador Athanasiadou, we thank you very much. You have been instrumental for the organization of this event since last year. We thank you deeply. Of course, we thank also the Consul General of the city, Mr. Leontidis. And please allow me to make a special reference to Ulysses Protopoulos, the Senior Trade Commissioner of the Greek Consulate, for his outstanding help, cooperation and support of this event. Since this is a moment of thanks, I must make a special recognition to Minister Papathanasis, whom we consider as the founding father of this forum, not only because he initiated this event, but because he is the driving force behind of this. Minister Champagne, we had a discussion last night that perhaps if you join us next year, you are going to be a co-founder of this event. After 3 consecutive years, okay? So you have a promise. So, dear friends, as we all know, Canada and Greece have stood together, side by side, in all major world crises during these last 100 years. The two countries have forged a strong political, economic, cultural, and social alliance and cooperation. And throughout all these years, and we need to sustain, I think, and advance this relationship in the years to come. And this forum is created and targeted to this noble cause. Sadly, the world is not the same as it used to be a few years ago. The war on European soil in Ukraine continues for more than 600 days. The audacious assault against the state of Israel on October 7 brings new dark clouds that we will see with all the critical and unknown repercussions on the world geopolitics of the world economy. This rapid climate crisis has terribly affected both countries, Canada and Greece. In Greece, as you know, we have suffered lately by catastrophic floods and wildfires, which have devastated human beings, towns, and villages. The good news is that the Greek people gave a second mandate to the government of Kyriakos Mitsotakis, whose able and visionary leadership has navigated the country to safer and more calm waters, despite the world challenges and the ones, of course, that we face in our region. In this major national patriotic task of the new government, Minister Papadanasis, who is now an elected member of the Greek Parliament since last July, plays the leading role at the Ministry of National Economic Finance, with high responsibilities and duties of the development and growth of the Greek economy. In this context, together with our partnering organizations, we have built the agenda of this forum to demonstrate to this economic capital of Canada the priorities of the new government, the achievements of the past few years, and the areas where both countries can work together in order to develop further the bilateral economic and business relations. During the 9 hours event, we will discuss the two-way investments, the business opportunities in the mining, critical materials, and new technology areas. We will have presentations by Greek startup companies. We will discuss the venture capital projects, the role of the Greek diaspora in Canada, that we are so proud of them, who helps very much with the enhancing of the bilateral relations. And we will close this forum with a discussion of the important topic of philanthropy and the role of civil society organizations as a vehicle for economic and social prosperity. Our delegation from Greece is also accompanied by quite a few representatives from leading Greek companies who have B2B meetings which are going to take place in Epsilon, and we thank them very much for joining this delegation. Before I give the floor to the co-chair of the Hellenic Initiative in Canada, John Sotos, for his welcome remarks, let me say one word about many thanks for the sponsors of this event. Without them, this conference would not be able to be implemented. The Eldorado Vault Corporation, one of the leading Canadian investments in Greece, John Burns will join us shortly. The Enterprise Greece, the organization in Athens which promotes investments and trade, Marinos Pianopoulos is with us. The Eurobank, one of the 4 largest banking institutions in Greece, which is controlled by Canadian Fairfax Group. The Handels Mastarakis, thank you. And the President of the Hellenic Bank of Investments, Hellenic-Canadian, thank you very much. So with this, I'm going to invite the co-chair of the Hellenic Initiative of Canada, Mr. John Sotos, to say his welcome remarks.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this crisp but sunny Toronto morning. It's delighted to see so many of you join us here today, and many of you will also be joining us for the dinner, the fundraising dinner for the Hellenic Initiative this evening. I'm very pleased to welcome all of you to the second Delphi Toronto Economic Forum. In particular, I wish to extend a very warm welcome to the large delegation from the private and public sectors, attendees from Greece. I also wish to add my thanks to Mr. Papadanasis, who, well, he has a new title of founding father. I think we'll let a plot for him tonight. But I would do, in the interest of saving time, I'm not going to repeat the thanks to the same persons that have helped make this event a possibility today, other than thank all the dignitaries who have honoring us with their presence and support. I'm also honored by the impressive array of panelists and speakers, which include eminent leaders from the public as well as the private sectors of both Greece and Canada. I am grateful for the time, energy, and insights you have agreed to share with us today here in Toronto. As Canadians, we are aware of the benefits of a strong economy, and as observers of the opposite, which was the case in Greece until very recently, we're aware of the high costs of a weak economy. Indeed, the Hellenic Initiative was founded in response to the economic crisis in Greece in order to provide economic immediate crisis relief to our compatriots in Greece. We're delighted, as Sir Soleas mentioned, that Greece has emerged very well from that near calamity, and we are thrilled to be supportive of all of the good work that the Greek state is doing to raise the opportunities of Greek people. Crisis relief is necessary and continues to be part of our mandate, and we are doing everything we can to address it. Our focus most recently has been in care for the elderly, but robust economic development is the only way to help lift as many people as possible out of poverty or subsistence. It's for that reason that we at the Hellenic Initiative Canada, we're delighted to support, again, the initiative of Minister Papanassis to continue this bilateral conference that will explore and promote closer economic ties between Greece and Canada. We're also delighted to have today, as our keynote speaker a little later on, Mr. George Burns, the CEO of Eldorado Canada. Finally, I wish to welcome the many business leaders from both Canada and Greece that have joined us in person today. Without further ado, I welcome you to the second Toronto Economic Forum and hope that they represent a new beginning of bilateral economic relations between Greece and Canada. So, welcome.
So thank you very much for being a great support. We're looking forward to many Toronto or Canadian, if you like, fora in the next years, because we are pressed that we go also to other places in Canada. So perhaps we need to rename from Toronto to Canadian Forum. You see. So with this, I would like to invite Vassy, Kapelos, a known journalist, personality in Canada, to chair the first panel. Please join me to welcome her. Vassy.
Hi, everybody. Hellos Istadad, bienvenue to le monde. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's a pleasure, ministers, to have you here as well. I know everybody's looking forward to this conversation. I spoke to many people last night who are here today who are very anxious to find out your perspective today on the potential growth between our two countries and our economic relationship. So I thought I'd start kind of with where things are first, and then where you both like to see things head just after that. Initially, if I were to ask you, and I have a lot of experience interviewing Minister Champagne, so I'm going to say, please limit your answer to 1 or 2 sentences.
Well, we're not live on TV today.
Yeah, that's true.
Champagne for breakfast.
If you could, as succinctly as possible, describe from your perspective how you would characterize the current relationship, both economically and otherwise, between Canada and Greece.
Well, first of all, is it working? Yeah, it's working out. Yes, yeah, not. First of all, thank you for taking to our friends from Greece. Thank you for attending this second forum. I would say it's a great delight to be in Canada. Thank you, Minister, for your friendship. Now, I'll call you founding father. I have a new title for you now, co-founder of this summit. And I was just saying, so in background, I was just saying I'm only aware of one other country in the world, which is doing something similar to that on a regular basis. And I think, doing it year after year brings a lot of perspective, and I would say it's the best way to achieve success. So I think we are in a good spot, but I think there's far more to do. I don't think we have reached our full potential. And I think it's true to people in this room that we're going to do that. I think we have been both countries blessed by geography. I think that when I look at the CETA agreement that we have, should be a catalyst for us to do much more. We were talking this morning, and I learned about 50% of renewable energy is being produced in Greece now. We were talking about hydrogen. We were talking about what we could do in the field of medicine, where we could do it in manufacturing, where exchanging experience we have, and also thinking about what's the economy of the 21st century. I mean, any leader you talk with the world today, whether it's a business leader or world leader, there's 3 things which are top of mind to anyone in the world. It's energy security, food security, and supply chain resiliency. And I think if you put that as a frame, you could see why Canada and Greece can do much more. I mean, Greece is in a very strategic location in the world, which I would hope more and more Canadian companies would use as a stepping stone, obviously, to go into these markets. And I think vice versa, I think Canada is offering a unique opportunity in the world, which is fraught with uncertainty. I think that when I talk to CEOs in the world, they value a lot stability, predictability, the rule of law. When there's high uncertainties, you want to be in a place like Canada. So for me, I think we have the ingredient of both sides of the Atlantic for us to do more. But I think we still need the people in this room to build out the very large diaspora. We have, 270,000 thereabout people. And let's be clear, it's always the people-to-people ties who make a difference. We can put the framework together, but I think that what Annie has been doing, for example, my colleague Nicotrackis from Parliament, to make sure that we always put Greece on the agenda, I think is the right thing. But I think we do much more. So I think, again, to the president of the Delphi Forum, if we called it the Toronto Economic Forum, maybe one day it'll be Montreal as well, maybe. We should certainly think that we need to probably look at what we need to do from forum to forum. What are the type of things that we have a lot of investment banks here, we have a lot of investors. What are the things that we should do very proactively to make sure that next year we can take stock of what we've achieved and where we want to go next year?
Yeah, we'll get into the specifics in a second. Minister Papathanasis, I wanted to ask you, if you envision what the relationship between our two countries looks like in a best case scenario in 10 years, how would you like to describe it then?
Thank you, Vassy. First of all, let me express my gratitude and my thanks to Mr. Sotos for organizing this second event. It's very important for everybody. And also, it's an honor. It's an honor to be here with you today. And also, I'm honored very much to be here with their co-founder, Minister Sampé, that he always supports this event. It's very important. I think when we have events like this, things are moving, and companies meet each other. And I think when this is happening, we provide all the background for enhancement of the bilateral relations. So, dignitaries, excellencies, it's an honor to be with you. And I think Greece, we just won our second mandate. Greece is back. Economy is much better. We are having a growth that we had not seen in the past. We've learned our lesson. We went through difficult times. We have a growth rate that is three times the average growth rate of Europe. We do believe in surpluses. We've left behind the deficits. And of course, as Minister Sampé said, that we believe that Greece should be an energy hub. So I go back to the question, Vassy. I think we have many things in common with Canada. We have many sectors that we could cooperate. First of all, let's say that we are two countries that, to start with, I think it's very important. We stood on the same side of history. It's very important. And I think this gives us the background to work together. It was only until recently with Ambassador of Canada to Greece, we worked together to evacuate the Canadians from, congratulations from the excellent work you do.
I did not want that, honestly.
Well, I think I'm glad it's our place. So what we see in 10 years ahead, I think we should see the sectors we can cooperate. So let's start with energy. I think the challenge is here. We are experiencing a climate crisis. Climate crisis is present. We are working very hard to mitigate the results of the energy crisis, but we have forgotten that the consequences of the energy crisis is happening now. So in us as Europeans, we don't have built a solidarity fund. It was built at different times. The frequency now is completely different. We experienced the wildfires, we experienced and storms that have destroyed all the infrastructure of regions. This happened in Greece, it happened in Slovenia, it happened in other regions of Europe, and I think we will be seeing quite often these effects. So energy and all the what follows the energy sector, for example, clean transportation. It is something that we can have a ground of cooperation. We can work on renewable energy resources. Of course, Greece is moving ahead very fast. We want to have 70% of our energy needs by 2028 covered by renewable energy resources. Right now, we cover 50%, and there's days that we cover 100%. There has been days that Greece is covered completely 100% by renewable energy resources. And now we do know that there's high interest from a big company to invest and build one of the largest photovoltaic plants in Canada. So another sector, what I see in the future, and of course we have solid grounds to discuss about that, is the agricultural sector. Agri-food, inflation and food inflation is something that is happening right now. We're not sure that this is not a problem that would stay because the need for food is growing up, and we see countries like Netherlands that has covered the needs of the country, and of course it's a major exporter, so the technology is there. Canada has the technology, and Greece has the grounds and the desire to cooperate on this field. Now, pharmaceuticals, it's another sector. Greece has a strong pharmaceutical sector, and I think Canada has a strong. So there is cooperation, there is discussion between companies. So we would see some cooperation there. We could see Greece to be a hub also for Canada, and also Canada be a hub for Greek companies entering the North American market. So this is something that is very important, and I think we would see a lot of things happening in the near future. Now, we of course digital convergence and digitalization and artificial intelligence is something that's very hot right now. I think Canada is ahead in many issues, and Greece has the desire to follow. So there is a ground also for discussion and cooperation. There has been an initial agreement between research centers between Canada and Greece, and I think we should elaborate. So what I see in the years to come is I see the two countries enhancing the bilateral relations. We have a commercial surplus, of course, that Canada is actually advancing, but we would see more companies being interested to enter the Canadian market and the North American market, and also Canadian companies to enter the European market through Greece. So the future is here, and I think forums like that assist in that direction.
I think, Mr. Shepin, I know you have specific things to weigh in on those areas, because I think the audience is definitely looking for specifics about the way in which the relationship could grow. I'll start off with a question, though, on the first area, and then you can take from there. Energy cooperation specifically. I think what I heard last night from lots of members of the delegation is while this transition to renewables, which is obviously very advanced in Greece, is taking place, there is still a desire for LNG from Canada, and you know that. And I say this with respect, your government has been criticized for saying there isn't a business case for it, despite what's happening with Russia. Do you feel, given the insecurity right now, you're more open to that possibility, and that you know that there is a customer on the other end and customers that are open to it? And how do you see that unfolding?
Well, sure. I am more bullish perhaps than others on LNG. Like you said, there's a customer, there's a need, then it's the price point. Then make sure that it's commercially viable. To do that. But I go back to energy security is top of mind to everyone, and certainly Canada did a big role in that. By the way, as the minister was talking, I was saying, when I hear it's all about opportunities and possibilities, that's why this forum is so important. And I was thinking next year, if I may suggest, because I know Vassy wanted us to be very concrete in some of the things we could do, But some of you may know we have created 5 global global innovation hubs in Canada, which are very relevant. I was saying that to the minister. That we should probably invite the CEOs next year. I would put that respectfully to the chair and the co-founder. One is around ocean technologies. And I think if you think, Canada and Greece, there's certainly a lot around ocean technologies we can look at and what we can do together, also in the context of climate change, and I'll come back to that. The second one, and this is out in Eastern Canada, so this is in Newfoundland. The other one we have is on AI, and it's in Montreal, a big cluster of AI talent. The other one we have here in Toronto is around advanced manufacturing. Then we have one, Ministry of Love, which is around protein. So we have a protein cluster in Western Canada, and finally a digital cluster in Vancouver. But I think we should bring the CEOs at the table, because 2 things that the minister said, which are very relevant. How can we feed the world? And to me, I mean, a lot of people in this country may remember me one day for what we've done in the auto sector, in the battery electrification. But I can tell you my real goal is how we can feed the world with plant protein and other proteins that we get in Canada, and that could really be a leader in the world. And I think we have everything to achieve that. Going back on the energy sector, I think we should look also not only what we can do on the energy side, but how can we produce the greenest energy in the world? And I think there's a lot to learn from Greece. I mean, I was amazed when the minister said someday it's 100%. And I can tell you, sometimes people ask me, what's your recipe to bring these big investments? I'll put that in a book one day. So I'll give you just one of the chapter, because Vassy, I'm going to be on her show for many years to come. So I have to keep something. Otherwise, she's not going to invite people. I have to keep something. But there's 5 things I always say which have allowed us to attract. And I think when you look at Greece, what we've been able to achieve, whether you talk about biomanufacturing, Moderna, whether we've been able to attract in the auto sector, the battery, what we've been able to attract it in steel and aluminum, it always go back to talent. The first thing is talent. And I think we should look at what we could do with our research institute, with our colleges, because I think talent is key. And I was very pleased to hear the minister said, we had a brain drain a few years ago. Now we have a brain gain, which I think is very relevant, because you can only bet on the future generation and the talent. That is the first thing that attract investment. The second thing is around the ecosystem. And how can our ecosystem could be complementary to each other? When people are looking at that, what has made us possible in attracting investment was around the strength of the ecosystem. Canada is the 3rd largest country in the world to manufacture airplanes, for example. With the 3rd, when you look about car manufacturing, if you look at Windsor and Detroit, after China and Germany. So these things are helping to build it. How can we build ecosystems together for the future? The 3rd thing I think Canada, and I would say to the people in the room, should really think is critical minerals. I mean, listen, Canada is the only country in the world, if you exclude China, where you have all the critical minerals to power the future. Very simple, whether you want to build a battery or a semiconductor. And either of those are going to be key for any industry in the future. And it's not only critical minerals, but its proximity to resources market as a assembly line. And I often say, although I love some of my colleagues in other parts of the world, but you have to think about proximity when you're doing that, because it makes a huge difference. The 4th, which we have in common, is renewable energy. When we landed, and I was talking to at the minister, when we landed Volkswagen, people said, I'll put down again in a book, that's going to be a whole chapter. But one of the key things I was saying, you need to think not only for 10 years, 20 years, but for 100 years to come. We're going to move from electric car to green car. And if you want to be able to do green batteries, you have to be in a jurisdiction with renewable energy. And I think I would say to you, Minister, this is one of the the biggest selling point, because today when people come to our shore, they're not asking me, despite what some may think in the country, what is the government going to do for me? But it's about the block of energy. You have enough energy in order to support the infrastructure. And the 5th is, I think, access to market. And now we have a unique opportunity to be part of one of the largest traded plots in the CETA agreement. And Canada, by the way, is the only country in the world which has a G7 country, which has a free trade with all the other G7 nations. So when I used to be trade minister in one of my previous lives, reiteration of my role in government, I used to say to my Asian colleague, you have 1.2 billion customers. I have 1.5 on a preferential basis. And I always joke because Canada with the TPP on the Asian side, we could be your gateway to Japan, we could be your gateway to Singapore, we could be your gateway to Vietnam. Obviously with North America, with the United States and Mexico. But what brings us special is, I think, our relationship with Europe. I mean, many countries, when I used to be foreign minister, would say, you're the most European country outside of Europe. And some would say you're more European than many. And I think that uniqueness in values, in principles, in the fact that we are both democracies, I think that people are aligning their supply chain with their values. And I think this is a huge opportunity for the people that distribute. And I would put it to you, Chair, that next year we should bring these clusters, because I think we could certainly find points to build bridges between Greece and Canada.
I'll pick up on that point, Mr. Papadanasis, and ask if you view it in a similar way, kind of from a strategic perspective, that what has been happening in the world, particularly over the last 18 months, has put a greater emphasis on fostering and amplifying relationships with like-minded countries, and if you view Canada in that vein.
Well, in your previous question, you mentioned energy, Vassy, and I think Minister expressed his opinion that energy would be a case of the future. And of course, you spoke about LNG. I'll tell you what we're trying to do in Greece, and I'll get back to your question. We are trying to become an energy hub, meaning that we are building FSIUs in Alexandroupoli, in the center, close to Athens, and another region close to Corinth, because we would like to pump gas to the Balkans, and why not up to Ukraine. Also, having the target to be completely independent from energy needs, because we are moving very fast with the renewable energy sources. We are talking about building a cable to bring energy from Egypt and the Middle East. In that sense, our plan is to divert energy to Europe. So, there is high need in South Germany, other countries, that they could receive this energy. And this energy coming from, it's a low-cost energy, because the energy from renewable energy sources practically is almost the cheapest energy that we could see. So we are very keen in cooperating with countries like Canada, because first of all, they have the capacity. Secondly, we believe that we are a stable place, politically stable place, at the right place, as Minister Champagne said. We are at the corner of Europe, and also it's already been used, Greece, as a hub for transportation. The port of Piraeus carries many containers to Europe, and we are elaborating and working to enhance the capacity of the port of Thessaloniki and the port of Alexandroupoli. So in that sense, we see the future with countries like Canada, that we should work together and find the grounds. And of course, the clusters that you spoke, Minister, is very important. The research also, institutions are very important to cooperate, and also batteries. We are running IPCIs in Europe, an important project of common European interest. Of course, we have to finance the gap, the funding gap. It is a little bit more difficult for Greece, because we have a strict fiscal program. We cannot divert from our stability program. It's not like Canada. We are a little bit on the woods side, because we passed through a difficult financial situation. It was just 3 days ago we were upgraded to investment grade by Standard & Poor's. We were upgraded from other 3 agencies, and we expect to gain the upgrades from the Fitch in separate. It's very important, because this released the tension on the spreads and also it releases a lot of investing power, because what we need in Greece, we need investments that create jobs. And because you mentioned about the brain gain, it is true that we are experiencing a demographic problem. So we need to bring Greeks back, especially Italian stems that they have left Greece, because we were, decreased as population. So it is very important to create the background for companies to invest and set their operation in the country. Other than that, we see also a cooperation in the pharmaceutical. It's very important because Greek companies already approaching Canadian companies who have production lines here in Canada, and also we see a move of Canadian companies that they want to enter the European market, because it is very important to have hubs, production hubs, in order to cover the needs. Another sector that is very important and will not cover the needs in the future is the production of photovoltaic cells. What is foreseen is that no matter how many factories will be built, cannot meet the demand in the future to come, because the demand for photovoltaic cells it's very high, and already it is the demand for setting up factories in Europe, in various places in Europe, and we have this happening in Greece. In order to cover the needs in the near future, it seems like photovoltaic energy production will be the major energy production for the years.
I have one more question, and then I'm not sure Mr. Kapathan asked, but Mr. Champagne says he's okay to take a few questions from the room. We have about 12 minutes, and I don't know if you're okay with that. They didn't tell me, but Minister's okay with it. So if you're,
It's good to change the program mid-program.
and he just wants to avoid more questions for me. Actually, my question to you is actually, I was listening to both your comments there, and specifically around, for example, landing Volkswagen. Right, a lot of what the economic development policy that your government is pursuing, and the money that you basically have to put on the table, has been forced by the Inflation Reduction Act in the United States, right? And I certainly, it's understandable that our focus be on the U.S. because of the size of the market and the proximity of the market to us. But I get the sense from a lot of Europeans, including a lot of Greeks in this room who I speak with, that they feel at times our focus on the U.S. has come at the expense of a focus on that. And I wonder if you are cognizant of that and how you would navigate that going forward. Do you think that has been a little bit to our detriment, basically?
No, and I think it's a fair sentiment. But, like I often say when people are asking me, what has been our reaction to the famous IRA in the United States? I say, I'm not an island in the Pacific. I live in the North American market. So obviously, you're largely influenced by what's going on in the United States when it comes to the economy and other things. But I would say you should see Canada as probably the champion of trade diversification. When I was trade minister, we purposely did seek to revitalize the TPP. They remember that famous letter out again. It's going to be in the book, but I'll give you another chapter. There was this letter, I think we were in Chile that night, where the United States had announced that they would withdraw from what was called at the time the TPP. The CPTPP, that was Canada, comprehensive and progressive. So if it's called CPTPP, that's really Canada. We wanted to expand that. But at that evening, in particular, we decided with Japan that it was worthwhile to have, for example, a rule-based trading arrangement in the Asia-Pacific region. Just forward back and think, thanks God we did that. Because if not today, what would be the trading arrangement in the Asia-Pacific? That's the only rule-based really trading arrangement, which is, like you said, Vassy, allows companies, for example, in Europe, if they establish a base in Canada, to access the market like in Japan. I mean, Canada is the second largest economy in the TPP after Japan. So this is not small. And you're right, we have been looking to expand our horizon. I was just with Nishimura-san a few weeks ago, and I would invite Greece to look more at Canada. Nishimura-san from Japan, the Ministry of the Economy of Japan, they came with a delegation to sign a critical minerals agreement with Canada. And you know what? I thought it was one of the many. I was very pleased when he said it's the first ever that Japan signed with any country in the world. on critical mineral, that gives you a sense of how people see Canada today and why it is so critical that we do that. So going back to your question, I was also there when we did the CETA agreement. And for me, this is probably one of the biggest achievements that we have done on both sides, I must say, because this is really the gold standard. And if you look at the state of the world today, I really doubt whether there'll be another trade agreement of any size soon. I mean, you can never judge history for decades to come, but if you look at the state of the world today, I think that we should cherish what we have achieved. And I look that I think we're up 61% since we've signed this CETA agreement, this free trade agreement between Europe and Canada. And obviously we'd want every European nation to ratify it, but for me, this is the gold standard that we need to do. Now, on the IRA, I was just saying to my Greek colleague, I mean, Canada is not the reserve currency of the world. So trust me, when our southern neighbor do things, we have to be far more targeted, far more strategic. And what we have achieved with the few investment, we realized that we could not manage the US, and that was never our intention. But we said we're going to be very strategic, probably like our Greek friends would do. We selected our partner. It's not by chance that Volkswagen chose Canada. We chose them. And you say, well, they chose us as well. But we chose Ford. We chose GM. We chose Stellantis. We chose Northvolt. We were very selective. And I think, if you look back, and I'd say everything is possible. Because when I started the journey, Canada was nowhere, as we know, Vassy, in the electric vehicle, really, 18 months ago. And now Bloomberg ranks Canada second in the world for the battery ecosystem after China, ahead of the United States. But my point, going back to Greeks, is that we should really take one sector. And you mentioned, for example, on biomanufacturing. And I think there everything is possible. I remember when I started, our fill and finish capacity of vaccine when I started at the industry was around 30 billion. And today we're north of 1 billion if we have to produce vaccine in Canada. So I think that we should look at these points where we have, and I know medicine is a big one, and what can we do with our research institute, and how can we have real investment on both sides to make that possible. And in terms of critical minerals, if Greece would be interested in looking at Canada more specifically, like other nations have done, why not? I mean, we've done that with Germany, as you know, in the Chancellor Case. We've done that with Japan. I think that we need to be very strategic in terms of natural resources. You said you're going to be an energy hub. We have some natural resources. Let's see what we could do together to secure the supply and for the future. And you mentioned it, and I'll stop there, Vassy, but as much as we have a green industrial transition, we have a digital transition. And you said it, one place where I think we should really team up together in terms of standards and norms is around AI. In quantum, in cybersecurity, because I always see kind of the pyramid of you're going to have all these industries, but underlying that today you'll have cyber, quantum, and AI. And if we were to do a step change together with respect to our cooperation on AI, like other nations have been seeking to do with Canada, imagine when you're thinking about the ports operation. And if you bring AI into that, the gain in productivity, because AI allows you to extend both scale and scope in a business very quickly. So if you think about that, we should maybe look at that. And like I said, with our clusters, if you break the digital technology plus the cluster, you probably gain in productivity and certainly put Greece and extend Canada at the forefront of these new technologies.
Did you want to weigh in quickly? And then I think we have 5 minutes, so make one question for each of the ministers.
I think Minister spoke about the clusters, and it's very important. But obviously, Greece cannot produce cars. It could produce, supplementary or modules of cars. And I think it does have an industry, but it's not organized. Now it's starting to be organized. So it is for sure very, very useful to speak about clusters and to speak about sectors for manufacturing like pharmaceuticals, etc. So there could be supplementary work done, because always when you open up the production networks, you are more safe. You know that right now probably you have a CHIPS Act. There is a CHIPS Act in Europe. There's a CHIPS Act in the States. You know that if something happens in Taiwan, all of our systems will go down. So we have to move in a way to become resilient in this sector. And in order to do that, it's not only the chips, but it's other. We saw that in COVID. You know, we had to have a manufacturing capacity all over the world. So every country counts. And in this manner, I could see that the cooperation between Canadian and Greek companies in order to produce in various locations materials is very important, because this is how you achieve redundancy. So I think that on this ground, I believe Mr. Tsouhopoulos next year, you should introduce all this, what the co-founder of Mr. Sambet said. We should talk about we should talk about clusters. We should talk about supplementary and module manufacturing, and also I think that AI is a ground for discussion. Actually, I asked ChatGPT what Vassy will ask me.
Maybe I'll try that next time I go on her show. Let's see what
I'll figure that one out.
Okay, so I think this is the way to go. This is how I see operation the British Council 10 years down the road. I think that we'll have to enhance the discussion and the B2B. We have two great countries, and we do have the capacity. Of course, Canada is a very big country with an economy which obviously it's 10 times at least bigger than Greece. But I think Greece has the capacity to provide redundancy and safety in many issues that Canada would need also help to Europe. And at the same time, as I said, Greek companies could use Canada. It's very friendly and to enter the South American market.
Okay, I think I only have about 2 minutes left, so we may not have time for, because Leslie even has a very quick question. Oh, there's lots of people.
extend by a few minutes.
A few minutes, sure, that's okay. Okay, gentlemen.
We're already changing the program, and we just started.
Thank you.
Thank you. Minister Chambat, you made a very interesting comment, aligning supply chain with values. Are you advocating a new type of capitalism that puts morals and ethics and values above strict dollars and cents? And could you explain, because it's actually very timely to have that discussion.
I think the world is going in that direction. I don't think it's me, but I think you see more and more corporations looking at stakeholders in a much broader way than traditional companies have been looking at. And I think some of those who have done that have been the most successful in the world. And so I would say that looking at the environment and in the world, I would say, which is fraught with uncertainty and wars, and the minister was right, you're looking at the geopolitical challenge. Aligning your supply chain with values for me is adding at your redundancy and resiliency. When I say supply chain resiliency is the key, I mean, I'll give you a sense. I was with a number of CEOs recently, and they were saying, Minister, we're now spending close to 40% of the board time on geopolitics. We make the wrong bet, we lose billions. And I think that when you align that with your values and you add stability, you know, I had an old professor when I went to school in the United States. He was a prosecutor in Nuremberg, Professor King. And I remember at that time, he always mentioned that there's three things to attract investment, that find any region in the world without that, and you find you have no investment. Stability, predictability, the rule of law. And I think when you look at the world today and you add values to that, I think for me, it's not only the right thing to do, but it's the smart thing to do, what you just said. Because in a way, if you align that with your values, I think look at critical minerals. I mean, if you had a choice, would you not take that from a country which offers that? I think you would. And that's why you've seen the like of BHP doubling down on Canada. That's when you've seen the like of Rio Tinto doubling down on Canada. That's when you see Dow Chemical doubling down on Canada. I mean, because people are looking at that and say, listen, those are critical for the prosperity of nation for decades to come. So if you have a choice, I think you better go with your values, and then with your values, you're aligning supply chain that would offer you the resiliency. That's how I would put it. But you may want to add to that, Minister.
No, absolutely. This is the way to go. We have to see on a different perspective the global economy. And of course, we should consider from the experience we gained what happened during COVID. The global community had to cooperate, otherwise would not face efficiently the problem we had. This is going to be repeating itself in some way. So we should see the cooperation of the countries and all the production capacity of the countries complementary and supplementary. So the resilience and the redundancy calls for an absolute cooperation in all these aspects.
Take another question. Get back there.
Thank you, Commissioner. Generation Portfolio Management, we're looking at the investment office. Minister, it's good to see you again. Quick comment in terms of European since the signing of CETA, the level of cooperation between capital markets in Canada and Europe. And Minister, if I could get your remarks, I noticed that in addition to economy, you're also responsible for finance, around the same from a Greek perspective, or Greek companies taking advantage of the fact that Toronto is the second largest financial hub here in North America behind New York.
Well, in terms of CETA, if I may just say, I think this is, we should take full advantage of that. Like I said, I think we're blessed to have a trade agreement of that nature between our two countries. And there's many protocols that, and I would say maybe to the organizer, brainstorming as we go, my team will say, Minister, this is all nice, you're doing policy on a stage. But I think we should have maybe a session next year, if you wanted, on the very specific chapter of the CETA agreement that could facilitate trade. I'll give you an example. There is a chapter, for example, on pharmaceutical and reciprocity. So if we want to continue in the field of medicine and biomanufacturing, there is an enabling chapter in the trade agreement we have with Europe, which are unique in the world. And we should really highlight those to see how do we take advantage of those chapters that have been negotiated, labor mobility, research facility. I think the one, for example, with respect to pharmaceutical, where once you've been approved in one jurisdiction, you facilitate the approval in the other jurisdiction. Those are the kind of things which give you a competitive advantage compared to doing that with any other nation in the world. And if you ask me, have we taken full advantage of the trade agreement? I'm not sure we have, to be honest. And that's why I say, let's seize the moment. Let's be ambitious in how we do that. Going back to the point of Vassy, I think this for me is a moment to really look at the tools we have in our toolbox. Some of those which are known, some of those which are less known. We have the financing agencies here. We're talking about firefighting, water bumper together. There's so many things that we could. The minister was good at saying, maybe we should think about leasing. We probably need to think about. There's many opportunities. We spent 5 minutes together and we were about to start with 10 businesses. And this was 5 minutes. So I really think that if we look at these particular competitive advantages, you always have to look, what's the competitive advantages where between Canada and Greece we could really build businesses. And I think we should spend a bit of time next year if I'm re-invited to look at that. There's the cluster and also the CETA agreement and enabling chapters that could really spur businesses in different sectors.
Last comment of the panel to you, Minister Papathanasis.
Sure. CETA is a very important agreement. I think it has assisted in raising the exchange of goods between Greece and Canada by 74%. So we do have a result there. Of course, now we've reached a stage that I think it's besides political interference. I think, Minister, it's a matter of technical issues that have to be resolved. It's also a European issue, and I think that the faster we resolve all the problems, I think it will assist. Of course, I know there's some technicalities that are difficult to be met, but we have to try Canada and Europe surpass these problems. Greece has a particular, problem with CETA, but I think it's minor when you look at the perspective and the benefit that CETA gives. Yes, we did talk about, aircrafts and the needs that we have for the wildfires, and I think there's ground for discussion. In the near future, because of this frequency that we will have in all these events, there will not be available aircraft, and this is what we were discussing with the minister, to lease, not to buy, to lease. There will not be, the need would be so high that there will not be available aircraft. And we're seeing this happening in many countries now, and also because of the difference in the geographical positions of the countries that need the aircraft, we can show our solidarity and move during the winter time the aircraft from one region to the other to meet the wildfire. So there's a ground to see in a different way globalization. I think all countries have to cooperate, and in this aspect, it's very useful to speak about clusters and to speak about a complementary operation of manufacturing and production in the country, especially Canada and Greece. So I think this is the ground to speak in the years to come, Vassy, and I think we will be seeing a lot of things happening because this forum actually it brings decisions ahead of us.
Yeah, hopefully we're back here in 10 years. Every year, but in 10 years, and we can see the fruits of the discussion and bear out for sure. I want to thank both of you, merci beaucoup, Minister Champagne, and Minister Papathanasis, and thank you very much to everyone for your participation and listening, and I really appreciate
occasions and whatever that I can do on my end to make sure that we progress in that regard. You know that you have my support. And I do bring that voice back to our government, and they know that, there's a meeting of the minds, there's a friendship there, there's diplomatic relations over many, many years. And I think that together we'll be stronger. And so I think that our relationship is quite strong. There's always room for improvement. We can always do better. And this is why forums such as this are so important, to get together and dialogue and exchange.
That's beautiful. Thank you. You all mentioned values and stability, security, and I'd like to turn to Pastor Vassiliadou and ask you, what do you see at the current state of the world? Right, while the Ukraine war is continuing, we have the Gaza war now, right? The Israel war. And the Greek Prime Minister, I noticed, is currently visiting Israel and meeting with Prime Minister Netanyahu. I'm wondering what's your take on the role that Greece can play in the region as a stabilizing force, and as it relates to Canada too, but also the wider, of course, Western alliance.
Thank you. Would you allow me to make a comment on the previous? Because at some point I told myself I will not mention it. We have good hopes that next year we might have an incoming visit of Prime Minister Mitsotakis. And this really hasn't been done for the last 40 years. And I believe it will be a historic step in our bilateral relations. You see, we more or less say the same things, all the panelists. We're Canadians, allies in the parliament, Cyprus, chairing the diaspora at some point. Karin and Yorgos are professional diplomats. We all keep repeating the same things, that we want to do more. So, if we have this high-level visit, an incoming visit by the Greek Prime Minister next year, then we have to have prepared all the things, all the target things we keep talking about, and explain, because the two prime ministers, we are happy to have two prime ministers who share a very good chemistry. So more or less, we don't need to do a big job. Everything is more or less there. We just need to provide the elements to explain why the Greek government is so interested to Canada. For me, it's quite obvious. I saw it in the first moment. And I saw it because I saw that the diaspora was choosing Canada. So I said, how come the Greek state doesn't choose Canada? And vice versa, the values of Canada. The fact that Canada is approaching, that it has approached the region, that it has been always there. I mean, now with the crisis in Israel, we learn many things about Canada and what was the contribution of Canada, not only in Cyprus, but also in the Middle East in the past. We are revisiting. We are not amnesiac. We need to revisit because it's very important for two democratic countries. So what, yes, the Prime Minister was yesterday in Israel. Probably all of you, you know the position of the government, you know the opposition, the long ties of Greece within the region. We are a historic protagonist in the region, and we respect very much all the countries which are there. And we try to promote cooperation. We had, throughout the last years, we had these trilateral cooperations. They were certainly economic and trade cooperations, energy cooperation, Greece, Cyprus, I mean, name it, all the countries of the region, with one exception, but the one exception, even this country is welcome to participate in our trilateral cooperations. So what we provide is stability and resilience, and this is our motto, and it is based also on democratic values, but with respect. And what I said in the first intervention, a healthy economic ties always go hand in hand with democratic values and respect. So the region is in flame. We are in between two regions which are in flames. As you know, in Ukraine, we had over 120,000 citizens of Greek descent. So we were very emotional also to the crisis. We didn't see the crisis not only in what concerns economic ties, we lost a lot by sanctions and everything. But we keep doing it because we are very vocal by direction. And in the Middle East, I told you, and I hope that it will be over soon for the benefit of the peoples.
Thank you. Ambassador Selena, I wonder how Canada views the latest crisis in the Middle East and Greece's role in that regard, because I know you've been very busy helping Canadians leave Israel through Athens. And this brings us to the geographic location that Greece is in and how important that is in the region. How do you view this under the latest developments in the region?
Yes, thank you. And I think this is where, and we were just saying, this is where we are confirmed in our knowledge that we are very like-minded, because I think our positions have been very, very similar, that expressed by our Prime Minister and our Minister. And I think these recent events, being able to count on an ally and a friend like Greece, and as well with Cyprus right now, as we are doing a lot of planning with respect to the potential. And we started first, I would say, 10, 11 days ago with the repatriation of our Canadians from Israel. And Greece was selected as the place to do it for very good reasons. and we've repatriated thanks to this support and I would say excellent collaboration from the Foreign Ministry, from the airport authorities, all the police everywhere, in order to be able to repatriate close to 1,600 Canadians from Israel. And of course, sadly, with the very tragic events, there is this instability that could sadly continue. And we are now also looking to Cyprus and counting on Cyprus as a friend, as a stable friend, and working very, very closely with them to, potentially, and this happened as well during the Lebanon crisis in 2006. We have, I should say, exceptional collaboration from the MFA, from all of your colleagues, as we are now, working very closely together with our allies in the region. And just a very small anecdote, but as I was coming back this week to Canada and giving my passport at the Canadian Border Agency, the agent looked at this and, oh, you're coming from Greece and Cyprus. This is a very important region for Canada right now. And I was very pleased and almost surprised, but this is, I think it's striking our knowledge as well in Canada that this is key and we need to do more together.
And Ambassador Leontidis, from your perspective, and being based in Washington D.C., I've also seen the strategic rise of Cyprus as regards to the U.S.-Cyprus relations as well. And I can imagine it's the same in Canada. Can you explain a little bit more the security cooperation that's taking place right now, or maybe this crisis in the region with Cyprus, and why Cyprus is so strategically important?
Thank you for the question. You can just see the map and where we are. And it's sort of hearsay or a figure of speech that we are the democratic country in the region, in a very tumultuous region. So following the events and the war in the Middle East, we have been able, Biden has been able to evacuate and repatriate more than 2,000 people from Israel, from many countries around the world, in the US, the UK, Portugal, Germany, you name it. And as the Ambassador, High Commissioner to Cyprus, Karin said, God forbid if the conflict goes into Lebanon, even bigger conflict there, then the numbers of people that will be evacuated from Cyprus will be in the tens of thousands. We're not maybe talking about 2,000, 3,000. We're talking now. It's going to be huge numbers. So my colleagues back home are working around the clock in assisting, and this is the role that many countries from the EU and the US have. They didn't expect, a crisis in order to understand our geopolitical role. As again, and Mr. Champagne said, it's predictability, stability, and rule of law. So it's not only in economics that these values, these matter. It's also in our political relationship, our security relationship, in all aspects of our bilateral relationship. These are very important. So the security, I'm going to hide behind the bush. The security relationship between Canada and Cyprus is not at the level that we want. Yes, of course, we assisted in 2006 with the evacuation of Canadians. We are ready to do much more this year, but we don't want to be there just when there is crisis. We want to work with Canada day in, day out.
Thank you. In terms of our time is running out, I would like to thank you for the last on your role as Parliamentary Secretary of the Euro, as Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Tourism. I know the course of the day, we'll be talking about various different focus areas: trade and investment, economic cooperation. But tourism is an important part in that regard, and I wanted your take on how you view the bilateral relationship in tourism, and if you have any policies or suggestions that we can use for it to grow sustainably, to the benefit of society, to expand the cooperation between our two countries in the field of tourism specifically.
Well, thank you so much for your question. It's a relatively new portfolio for me because the Prime Minister nominated me in this new role just a little bit over a month. What I would say is that there are a lot of opportunities between Greece and Canada and Cyprus for tourism. A lot of people don't always correctly think of tourism as a sector, as an economic driver. And, in my previous portfolio with Transport Canada, transportation was very important as well. So when you look at having the need to have proper infrastructure in place, connectivity, making sure that people, are able to move from place to place and from continent to continent seamlessly and easily, I think, and, looking at tourism as an economic driver, the same way that it's such a huge success in Greece. I was speaking with Minister Papathanasis yesterday, and I very, proudly said, tourism, it's 2% of our GDP. And he says, for us, it's closer to 23%. And I went, wow. So could you imagine about a small country, a smaller economy like Greece, that has so much expertise in tourism, what we can learn from Greece, and in turn exchange with Greece some of the pillars that we're looking at in the tourism. One of them is we want to make sure that international tourists that come to Canada experience an authentic tourist attraction experience. And I believe that there's a lot of opportunity through our Indigenous communities, for instance. That is one of the pillars that we're looking at very closely, to make sure that people who come to Canada and are looking for that type of experience, that Canada is in a position to offer it. I believe that, Canada is quite successful in that we have 4-season tourism, including business and leisure as well. I really believe that Greece as well has the opportunity to do that. And I think that, with the Ambassador Athanasiadou, we've been talking about ideas, and it was her idea actually, that perhaps, there could be some educational pieces that are in place where we can exchange expertise from Canada in Greece, where we can send perhaps some of the people that are studying in culinary schools. Although that's a provincial jurisdiction piece, but, we often speak with our counterparts on provinces, with federal government. So I believe that there are many, many areas where we can increase tourism, where we can learn from each other. And I look very much forward to continuing this dialogue, to be a strong voice. I'm a very proud, Canadian, Hellenic origin. And I think I've demonstrated that in several times through all of my activities for more than 25 years. I started when I was 12. I think that there's a lot of learning opportunities and sharing of best practices in tourism, and so much more in trade and everything else.
Thank you all very much. And I would like to call to the floor my former colleague and managing director of Compass Rose Group, which is Kapelos Argyris, for the next moment.
And it's a given. As I said, it's stability that we're looking for, and it shows that people and business alike recognize that. And of course, that's why we have a second term of elections. That's why there is a dedicated plan for the next 4 years as well. It's not a matter of just finishing what we're doing from the last time. It's also looking ahead.
Eldorado is one of the largest foreign investors in Greece, and we're proudly Canadian. In many ways, we are Canadians, Canada's standard bearer in Greece. That means we're doing things right, not only for our company, but what it could mean for our two countries. There are opportunities abound for Canada and Greece, given our strong cultural ties and potential for strengthening economic ties.
In the business. But yes, we recognized right off the bat the urgency with the task. If we're going to achieve our goals and converting from a fossil fuel to a battery technology, then we've got to build the build mines quicker. So that's why we passed that legislation. That's the first thing that we did. I got riled. That act, Bill 71, was it achieved royal assent in May this year, and that's pretty remarkable. And it has two very important points that I'm very proud of. There is a word in the new bill that's changed from the old bill in the duty consult and or Ontario's world-class environmental protections. So this bill is all about getting the bill.
Your experience in mining exploration so that folks from Greece, whether it's the Greek governments or the investment space, can take away some best practices of what it takes to do exploration in Greece, and what is the role of education in the mining sector, especially at the exploratory stage?
Thank you. We actually are a unique exploration story. In 2003, we embarked on an exploration strategy in Mexico. In the hole 1,001, we discovered probably the highest grade silver mine in the world. That's now in production. We're enjoying making money and life's good. But that's very unique. We had another deposit in Mexico where we discovered something on hole 436. As you said, we had a deposit a potential deposit, an exploration property in Utah. We also have one in Ontario on the Cadillac Larder Break. We're very much an exploration company. Exploration means high risk. Exploration is the analogy maybe to biotech. How many good medical ideas are out there, great research done? How many pills end up in a Pfizer bottle? Not many. But the costs to get there are significant. Exploration is the same. And so what we found, particularly in Canada, one of the reasons we really strive to get a good exploration property in Canada is the government of Canada have a financing mechanism that's a win-win for both the exploration company and the investor. It's called flow-through. It enables the exploration company to raise money on equity capital markets at a premium to their share price.
Introducing the panelists to you. So we have Mrs. Vassy, who's representing EGG, which means Enter, Grow, Go. That is managed by Eurobank, one of Greece's largest banks. Mrs. Andrea Richardson, Director for Strategic Projects with DMZ, which is the incubator of the Metropolitan Toronto University. Mr. Angelos Stavrakos, who's the founder and CEO of Safe Size, a very interesting company about which we'll hear more later. And Peter Polidor, who is the CEO of Ergo Capital and Ergo Holdings. His company was recently introduced in the Toronto Stock Exchange. So let's start with Ms. Vassy. Tell us a few things about why you're here in Toronto, what you're doing as EGG or Enter, Grow, Go.
It's not.
Thank you very much, Vassy. Thank you very much for hosting us and giving us this advantage to talk about startup and scale up. Thank you to the Delphi Economic Forum that bringing this topic here, and it's a great pleasure and really very important also for the startup community and innovation community in Greece to be here. I would like to start with a short introduction about our journey the last decade. Establishing EGG back to 2012, it was an innovative step for Europe at that moment to introduce to the startup ecosystem where there was no startup ecosystem.
That is still the longest living and spoken language of the human history. chronically actually comes from the word diachronika. The second is the Greek resilience that stood firm against some of the greatest conquerors of history. And the third is Greek entrepreneurship. It is now scientifically proven that the Greeks have admittedly traveled the globe from the American continent to the exotic India long before the contemporary conquistadors. Our ancestors' deeds of trade created long generations of Greeks that still live and thrive from the American continent and Europe to the Far East and Oceania. It is an undisputed fact that through the past millennia, our people have excelled to each and every aspect of making this world a better place, both when they extended the limits of human capabilities, but also when they had to resist against the human atrocities. Bowing our heads was never an option. But where do we stand now? Allow me to share my perspective as a representative of the young generation of Greeks. I cannot pretend that we're just standing at a historical turn of events where we're just not performing as expected. The past 70 years of our people's history are mainly characterized by the division and the constant undermining of ethical and moral values. Ethos, another Greek word. Ultimately, our country's citizens have suffered tremendous pressure and exhaustion due to the economic crisis followed by a global crisis that we are all experiencing right now. A crisis that seems that will not end anytime soon. Will we bend our heads down? Will we accept our fate? Will we say maybe next time, another better year? We will certainly not. Having a good idea is not enough. Having a good financial plan is not enough. Having a good deal of cash is definitely not enough. What we need is a vision. A clear vision of unity, which is that vision that led the way towards progress for our ancestors and consecutively human civilization. This is what we do.
And so the big thing when I look at the Greek startup ecosystem has been the fact that Greece is a country of 10 million people. But when you have an $8 billion startup economy there, it's punching above its weight class. And one of the biggest things I think Greece needs is more of this. It needs more soft landings, it needs more partnerships, and it needs more connections to the diaspora. And you know, we do this nonprofit accelerator every year called Accelerate Greece. We did it in California for years, and we're excited that we're going to hopefully be bringing it to Toronto in the new year. And the whole purpose is that the Greek diaspora is so powerful. It is so well entrenched around the world. In fact, it's been around the world for thousands of years, from what I just learned now. And it's something that can really offer a strategic advantage that no other country really can take advantage of. And I say that because our small market is where I actually think is one of the best strategic opportunities for startups to grow. Meaning that market is a great place to build, hire talent, and have a strategic advantage over other markets where talent's more expensive, office is more expensive, and access to resources are few and far between. So I always told the startups we dealt with at Accelerate Greece, the whole goal here is for you to build it in Greece, but sell it to the world. Because that M in meat is so important. If you're building a company that has a $100 million market, you're not going to attract investors. You're not going to get people involved to sign up. But if it's a $100 billion global market that you're trying to tap into, well, then you're going to be able to call people like Effie to say, hey, we want to expand your business in Ontario, Canada. You know, you're going to be able to talk to the minister from Greece and say, hey, we are creating jobs. And that's when you can really hit the gas.
So thank you very much. Actually, thank you all. We heard views about what our incubators do in Greece and that.
And research guy of the Canadian Venture Capital and Private Equity Association, right?
Yes, that is a mouthful, but yes, that's right.
Now, I understand that saying this, it means that you have a very, very deep knowledge of the Canadian venture capital market. And I would like to ask you, can you describe us,
Canadian space program? So when these professors, they came back to Greece, they tried to transfer to us as young students these ideas that, guys, you can work here and you can put your minds in order to develop great things. And why not in space? So after 25 years in Greece, and especially after Greece became the 6th full member of the European Space Agency, I prepared for you some slides just to keep you awake. this is this is for me just to understand how the Greek space ecosystem developed. It's not old. It's not like Parthenon, although the Greek philosophers, they're looking at the stars and they try to explain what they see, and they were great mathematicians that they helped the world in order to develop the way that we see the space and the way that we want to touch space activities. So we started quite late because we tried to put this philosophic analysis into practice, and we started building our ecosystem, especially when the Greek became the 6th full member of the European Space Agency. So why was this a very important milestone for us? Because you know very well that European Space Agency supports the space mission of Europe. So this means that the Greek industry that participates, they need to provide concrete solutions, hardware and software, supporting the European space missions. So this means that the Greek industry had to develop products, hardware and software, that they meet the strict requirements of a space-based system, and to deliver a product at the quality, timing, and of course to be price competitive. So since then, we managed to build the whole ecosystem. So this means that what you will see today is that in Greece exists a program financed by the Greek government and the European Space Agency to produce at least 5 startups in Greece working in space. So this means that we bring an ecosystem, new ideas, and new blood into the space activities. We have a space cluster that brings together the industry and the academia to work together.
Well, good afternoon again, everyone. It's really my pleasure to welcome and introduce Nick Leontidis. You look at it by the name that there is a Greek heritage somewhere, I believe in Samos. Nick is the president of Civil Simulation Products, Trading and Services at iconic Canadian company CAE, based in Montreal. And I had the good fortune of working with Nick during a break in my own diplomatic career in early 2000 when CAE was moving into pilot training. But the company is probably best known for making the best full flight simulators in the world. So turning to questions, Nick, the landscape of aviation is changing, and CAE released its talent outlook at the recent Paris Air Show, and all in the vein of attracting new pilots needed for the next decade. Why don't we start by me asking you to describe the challenges and the opportunities?
Sure. I guess I'll start by saying, you know, if you have any kids or grandkids that don't know what to do with their career, tell them to become pilots. You know, they'll have a job when they finish. You know, a pilot is a very particular profession that has a few 100,000 pilots in the whole world. The journey to become a pilot and fly for Air Canada as a Boeing 787 captain is long, and sometimes can be very expensive, and so it's not for everyone. We've had many shocks over the years, but the last one being COVID, a lot of people left the system. You know, if I'm 60 years old and have a couple of years left in my career, I'll leave now because I'm pretty sure COVID's going to last a couple of years. So this type of mindset eliminated a lot of people. And there's a mandatory retirement age. Unlike other professions, like here in Canada, there's no retirement age. If you're a pilot, there's a retirement age. And so we've created a big hole, and you've all probably heard it in the press that, you know, their airlines have grounded airplanes, they don't have pilots. Well, you can't just create one, it takes years to create a pilot. And so it's an industry that's for CAE, it's great, because that's what we do, we train pilots. But certainly for the airlines, it's a challenge, and a challenge that they will continue to face for a few years to come.
Thanks, Nick. Last March, CAE and Aegean Airlines, the largest airline in Greece, announced a new joint venture to establish
in this industry in Greece. And although we were still in the COVID reopening mode, there were, I think this year so far, 30 million tourists in Greece. equally importantly, it creates a business case. It unlocks the business case for further investment in infrastructure in Greece, such as the 1.4 billion modernization of the Athens airports, the 800 million developments of Olympia-Dos, the Olympia motorway, or for example, the 200 million approximately, we'd be asked some.
Probably, yes. I remember the debate. I remember her speech that she wanted to come in Greece and invest in hospitality, but she was afraid. So I want to tell all Canadian and Greek Canadians that don't be afraid anymore. Government is doing a very good job. The investments are running very quickly. So please come and invest even in tourism in Greece, not only in all the other amazing sectors that we have seen all this February. Nice.
And welcome. My name is Stephen Kapelos, and I'm going to be the moderator in our next session. I'll give you a little background as to who I am and why I'm up here. My family and I, over the last 35 years, we entered into a very unusual business venture, if you will. That is, over that period of time, we built film studios here in Toronto. And along with a number of collaborators, we managed to build Toronto and Ontario into an incredible filming hub in North America. And a little later on, we also moved into Chicago and we did the same thing there as well. So at the end, 2 years ago, we sold our business. But just before we sold it, we had managed to have 4 million square feet of space, film studio space in between here and Chicago. And along the way in building this business, we learned many lessons that we have tried to pass on to our friends in Greece as they really start into this journey, if you will. That will be an incredible economic development journey that Greece has started a few years ago. Just to get your attention on the economic development aspects of film production, when we started back in 1989, the total spent in Ontario was somewhere in the area of $50 million. That's actual money spent in the film industry. Last year, 2022, the Ontario government reported that in Ontario, the total spent, direct spent, not multiplier, just direct spent, in the film and audiovisual industry, $3.15 billion, with a target of reaching $5 billion in the next 3 to 4 years. At the same time, 45,000 people work in the film industry, or work in the film industry. 24,000 of them are unionized, very well-paid people that cover a number of areas of activities, and we'll talk about that later on. 7,000 additional people worked in the special effects industry and the gaming industry. So the numbers are staggering. So the possibility, and this is not a one-time capital investment. This is what happens year after year after year. And this is what is about to happen in Greece in a major and big way. So with us here, we have Panos Kouanis and Panagiotis. Panagiotis represents the other Greek studio here in Toronto, Tripod Studios, that are doing a wonderful job, and Panagiotis will talk to us about it. And Panos Kouanis was the first president of the Greek organization called ECOME that brought forward, the tax credits in Greece, really started the Greek industry in earnest back in Greece. Now Panos has moved on, and now he will talk to us about what he did in the past and what he's planning in the future. So Panos?
Thank you. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank Simon Solvabos for the invitation, and I feel honored actually that I'm here next to you, sitting next to you. It's the Mercopoulos family is a legendary You've actually, some of the most famous movies and TV series have been shot in your studios in Chicago and Toronto. The Apostolopoulos family is also very famous with their studios. You have two of the biggest studios in Canada, and I'm really honored that I got to be with you in the panel. What we did in Greece is basically we didn't invent the wheel. We took the best practices and we started them several years ago. And we managed to create a system that is very competitive, and it was very successful from the very beginning in 2018. So far, we had approximately 900 million euros of direct investment in Greece, with 150 million approximately as the cash rebate back to the production companies, and about 50,000 employees, directly created from those productions in Greece. The effect of film and TV production, and especially international production, coming to Greece is huge. I'd like to connect it with the previous panel. In tourism, for example, I'll give you two examples. The one is the Captain Corelli's Mandolin when it was shot in Kefalonia several years ago, of course. A British university did the research, and they found out that the island of Kefalonia had a 20% raise in tourism for the next couple of years. That's a huge raise. The same happened also with After Mamma Mia, and it was disproportionate to the cost of the production being shot in Greece. Like, for example, the cost of the movie was about 30 billion euros. They spent only $1.5 billion in Greece, but the effect on tourism, it was much bigger. So basically, it's very important to it affects also banking, it affects insurance, it affects hotels. We had, for example, a couple of years ago, we had the Glass Onion in the Peloponnese. We had 2 hotels and several houses for Daniel Craig and other stars and the director, renting them for a whole month. The hotel, there was it's a huge crew, 350 people. The actors, the same thing. So the effect on the economy and on many other parts of the economy, is huge. In order for this to be sustainable, what Greece is lacking right now is the infrastructure. We don't have the some stages that other countries have, especially in Europe, and this is something that we are really interested in creating in the next several years. The infrastructure. We have only a few sound stages. If a couple of movies are being shot in Greece, that's it. We cannot handle more movies. For example, 2 years ago when we had the Antetokounmpo movie of Disney, and at the same time we had Antonio Banderas in shooting The Enforcer and the Jack Ryan TV series, and also David Cronenberg's film Crimes of the Future. That was it for us. We couldn't handle it because of the crew and lack of crew, and at the same time the lack of infrastructure when it came to some stages. So this is very important for us to create the infrastructure here in Greece, and hopefully you'll help with that.
Others, these are growing pains, but these are good growing pains.
I know.
We went through them here in Toronto, and this is the natural evolution of the business in Greece. So now I'll invite Patricia Karavet, who is a vice president with Tripro Hill Studios here in Toronto, to talk to us a little bit about Tripro Studios and some of their plans.
Hi, everybody. Well, thank you for having me. I'm actually sitting in for my boss, who unfortunately couldn't be here today, so I'll try to represent the family business well. So we do have studios here in the city. We've had them for over a decade, and I think the impact that we are trying to have and the relationship we're trying to build within Greece as well is we have a lot of international inquiries from people that are looking to do films and productions abroad. And our question that we keep on getting is, can you take your model that you have here in the film and studio business and how we manage our properties and just how we run our studios and the infrastructure and everything that we've built here, and kind of built a duplicate model, let's say, in Greece. We've had actors come from the Greek International Film Festival and producers come and see our spaces, and they have always said that that's what they don't have in order to facilitate some of the work in Europe. This year, my boss, Peter, who has a love and passion for film and TV, which is how they ended up taking the family business and embedding it within this industry, because the main family business is in land acquisition and development and so forth. And he took that love and is trying to also make an impact in not only Canada, but we've also went to different parts of Europe to explore different opportunities. One being in Croatia this year. We've also visited parts of Greece where Peter's met numerous times with Panos. We've looked at various opportunities. There are some challenges in some of the avenues that we have looked at in Greece so far, but doesn't mean that we don't continue our search. There are repurposing buildings, which we are used to doing here. We understand the economies of scale that come with that, creating jobs and so forth. The problem is that the economy is getting better in Greece, and there's not a lot of those opportunities to take a repurposed building and create it into a studio, which we've done here. Doesn't mean that we haven't found that gem yet, we just haven't found it. Also, we're looking at potentially, acquiring more land out there, building a purpose-built studio out in Greece. Again, we're talking about Greece here. We don't know what kind of artifacts are going to be underneath the ground. Will that be an issue? Not sure. Good problem for some. Probably not the best problem to have if you're the landowner. So we do have, we are continuing our search in order to mesh with productions with, opportunities that we can have with, people like Panos who understand the economy there. What we do understand from here, though, is that the amount of jobs that are created within our industry, like Steve had mentioned, are ample. And it's not, when people think of film and TV, they sometimes think that the jobs are only conducive to like actors and producers and so forth. But as we mentioned, last year, just under 50,000 jobs were created in, we're talking about full-time, good opportunity jobs. And not only that, but it also feeds other sectors. So it's not only people that are working construction, there's painters, there's wardrobe, there's makeup artists, there's rigging and electrics, and you have the actors and the producers. So think of these kinds of scales and the opportunity that if we do end up building something of a larger scale in Europe, what it could do for that economy as well. And to your point, also with tourism. So once there's films that are created in Greece, what happens? Want to go see more and so forth. Further to just building studios, what we did here in Toronto is during COVID, Peter actually came up with a very creative idea and took over an airport at Toronto Pearson Airport. I think that was the first time that was ever done in, I know for sure in North America, to take over an actual airport terminal to film TV. So you could imagine how difficult it is to film in an airport, but we actually did it. So hundreds of people came in and out of a highly secured place, but there was no activity. So not only did we feed people in the GTA, people employed, but it's also a model that we looked at now at not just studios, but in Greece. Is there an abandoned airport? Is there a port? Is there an old military base? So the location base are also things that we are looking at, not only for here, but in Greece as well.
Thank you very much, Patricia. Again, we are just hearing just kind of, you take little snippets of what this business can be all about. And although we are not in business anymore, we have clients, we keep in touch with them constantly. And I'm so happy to tell you that Greece has done an amazing job in rolling out the film industry in the last few years. Our clients, and we're talking about the biggest players in the business. The Disneys of the world, and Netflix and so on. Just talking to them, they have had an incredible experience all around. They were welcomed in Greece. The famous Greek bureaucracy was nowhere to be found. Their tax credits were assessed promptly, and that's all basically going back to policying the group that he was able to put in place and what the infrastructure has been built there. So, Panos, can you tell us a little bit more now about the future of film production?
Basically, I think well, it's when it comes to my previous capacity, I think this is going very well. I think the government is supporting in 100%. They want to actually have something that's sustainable for a long time in the future, to be able to support international productions coming to Greece. So this is not mind, and Greece is a very safe country compared to many other countries. What in my case, I am now working in the private sector. We're basically facilitating international productions coming to Greece, and also developing our own projects in Greece for international audiences, because I think that entertainment is global, and so we're creating projects that are global and going to the platforms, whether it's Apple, Netflix, Paramount Plus, or Amazon, and also like creating a financing mechanism for those projects to find the equity that is needed for these films and TV series to be produced.
Thank you. The name of our panel here is the cultural and economic impact of film for Greece and Canada. Can you talk about the cultural impact of filming in Greece and, of course, especially when it comes to tourism?
Well, first of all, I have to say that there is a double treaty, a co-production treaty between Canada and Greece, and there is a huge historical connection when it comes to creating films and co-productions between Greece and Canada. And this is something that we are also exploring here, and with producers, Canadian producers, as a company. It's the impact in tourism, of course, is huge, and in culture. I'm thinking of an example now. It's I remember when Antonio Banderas shot the movie in Thessaloniki, and he took a picture and he put it on Instagram with the Lefko Echo, with the Lefko Echo behind him. It got 600,000 likes, and one picture. And I said, all these people, they never knew about Thessaloniki, and they learned it from one picture from Antonio Banderas. So that's advertising that you can never pay in any way. So, and one thing that actually also to connect it with the previous panel is that what I am personally doing is, and so far I've been successful, is to introduce foreign produced international productions to many locations that are not well known outside Greece. And why? Because there's a natural beauty, and there are many things that you can shoot. Like, for example, an abandoned military, the Air Force, or the big, I don't know, it's so many things in Greece that we have. Like, for example, there was a production that came to me 2 years ago, and they wanted to go to northern Greece. And I said, why do you want to go to northern Greece? And he said, because we want to shoot a film about the Second World War, and they wanted it to look like Alaska. And then, you start thinking of locations in a very, very different way. And it's not only Mykonos, Santorini, Crete, Corfu. There are so many other places that you can shoot in Greece, because they look alike. Like, for example, Tehran, the Apple TV series, 3 seasons, very successful 3 seasons in Apple TV, were shot, the whole TV series in Athens, supposed to be Tehran.
Can you also tell us a little bit about the structure of the film offices in Greece? So there is a central group, Athens. So
well, basically, what we did is we created 13 film offices. It's one film office in every prefecture. I must say that they don't all operate, as they should, because they're in the very beginning. The Athens film office goes very, very well, and the Thessaloniki film office, these two, I think, are the most advanced. Crete is very, very, very film friendly, because they have a culture there. This the way Crete is structured is very, very friendly when it comes to helping you with the permits and everything you want to shoot a film. That's why also Amazon went there and they shot last spring Killer Heat, which was a huge, for Greece it was a 30+ million euros of production investment in Crete. That's a lot of money. And Crete helped them a lot. So yes, there are the people up in Millennium shooting in Thessaloniki. It's practically now, I think, all over Greece.
Thank you. Did you have anything else about this one?
I think I'm good.
You're good. Okay. We have some people that are involved in the film sector here in Toronto. They are in the audience. Does anyone have any questions? Again, to ask panels about anything that you may have in mind? I think regards from this, so if anybody is out there that would like to ask, this is the time. Okay? No, they've shut it. So what I'd like to leave you with is,
Okay, we'll tell you.
There is, okay, that's kind.
So they're not curious. With the years, there have been a couple of times where the government of Ontario has tried to reconsider their tax credit program, maybe change their long-term plan for the film industry. And then obviously people like Steve and all of his colleagues have to jump in to try to get the government to stop going in the wrong way. So how confident are you that Greece is going to stick to their plan? And what happens if there's a change in government?
Well, I'll start actually by telling you a little secret. When I wrote the law about the Greek program, I studied the best practices, and I studied a lot your system. And actually, the Greek system is a combination, I would say, between the Canadian, the Italian, and the Maltese program, which were very successful that time, going back 10 years ago. Of course, we adapted it to the Greek system. I think that the Greek government is very, very supportive of the program, and once with the right funding and the right support, it's going to last for many, many years to come. It doesn't have a sunset date anyway, so money keep coming in as the program advances. We keep changing it. We used to change it, and there are going to be changes also in the future, because it's a system that's very, very alive. As our industry changes through the years, you have to adapt the program. It was different before COVID. It was different during COVID. It's different now after COVID, because many things have changed in our industry, as you know, and the way that especially TV series and films are being produced. And the audience has changed also. They used to go a lot.
Φίλοι μας, είμαι πολύ χαρούμενος που θα μιλήσουμε σε δύο υπουργούς, ο ένας από το Καναδά φυσικά, από την πατρίδα μας εδώ, και ο άλλος από τη γενέτειρά μας, τον κύριο Παπαθανάση, τον Υπουργό Αναπληρωτή Οικονομίας, ο οποίος είναι για δεύτερη φορά εδώ στο Economic Forum. You're here for the second time, Minister, and I heard the initial comments in the first session. You're quite hopeful that things will improve in trade between Greece and Canada.
Oh, totally. I'm an optimist by nature. And I think, this is the second version of the Delphi Forum here in Canada, the Toronto Economic Forum. Toronto is a big city, as you know, in North America. We're one of the largest, and the fact that we have all this delegation come. For me, I said, when you look at the world today, it's all about energy security, food security, supply chain resiliency. And I think with the trade agreement we have with Canada and Greece, there is so much more we could do. I think the minister was very good in saying in the energy sector, in biomanufacturing, we're talking about AI. Honestly, I think that we have yet to reach our full potential. And I'm happy because the co-founder of the forum now has said that he's going to adopt me. So I'm going to become eventually also an honorary founder of this summit. But I think I'm so pleased to be with the Greek community because, this is important at a time time where there's a lot of uncertainties in the world, I think that the world will see very positively more trading relationship between two allies, people who share the same value, democracies. And I think that for me, it's all about stability, predictability, and the rule of law, and we offer that. And therefore, I am very hopeful and grateful. And I'd say let's seize the moment, let's be ambitious, and together I'm sure we will bring the relationship to its full potential.
Well, it's an honor to be here. It's an honor to be here with Minister Champagne. We had all the discussion about the cooperation of the two countries. There's many sectors that we can cooperate. Greece and Canada have always stood on the right side of history, and two countries, democratic countries, and we can work together in order to bring up our cooperation in sectors like pharmaceutical, in energy, in digital, and in clean transportation, in artificial intelligence. It is very important that Minister Champagne spoke about the capacity of the Canadian companies to operate in Greece, and also Greek companies to operate in Canada. I think Greece is moving up, is becoming an energy hub, and at the same time Canada has the know-how, has the technology, and of course the two countries could work together for a better future.
Thank you both, and I'm looking forward in a lengthy Zoom meeting perhaps in the weeks and months to speak more in detail on this important area.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Ο άνθρωπος ο οποίος είναι στο κέντρο της οργάνωσης αυτής, ο Γιάννης ο Σότος, ο δικηγόρος της παροικίας μας, είναι γνωστός σε όλους σας. John, this is tremendous organization and a very important forum for the second time in our town. And are you hopeful that the results are going to be quite good in the future?
Well, we have already seen a phenomenal response to our invitation for B2B meetings, business-to-business meetings. So there are companies that are here from Greece that are meeting with either customers, potential customers, suppliers, today in parallel to this conference, and all day tomorrow. So that's a phenomenal outcome. And these are leading companies in both Canada and Greece. You heard the presentations talking about cooperation in the aerospace industry.
And in energy too.
In energy, in all kinds of things. So this conference is having far greater results than we anticipated when we conceived the idea of having the bilateral conference.
Well, congratulations for everything you're doing, John, for Greece and for our panikia. And I'm looking forward in a few weeks in a new studio, lengthy discussion about all things.
Great. Thank you, Vassy. Much appreciated. And good luck to you. Thank you.
Φίλοι μας, είναι μεγάλη τιμή για μένα και για την Greca TV να φιλοξενούμε για πρώτη φορά τον δημιουργό της Delphi Forum εδώ στο Τορόντο για δεύτερη φορά, τον κύριο Τσομόκο. Συγχαρητήρια για αυτό που κάνετε και τα αισθήματά σας σε αυτή τη δεύτερη φορά.
Να είσαστε καλά, σας ευχαριστώ πολύ για τη φιλοξενία. Εύχομαι και σε εσάς τα καλύτερα. Είναι γεγονός ότι θέλουμε να αναπτύξουμε περισσότερο την αγορά του Καναδά, να δημιουργήσουμε ακόμα καλύτερες οικονομικές και επιχειρηματικές σχέσεις. Ο Υπουργός μας, ο κ. Παπαθανάσης, έχει ζήσει εδώ στο Καναδά. Έχει ένα πρωτογενές ενδιαφέρον και εκείνος και η κυβέρνηση να μπορέσουμε να αναπτύξουμε ακόμα περισσότερο τις σχέσεις μας. Θεωρώ πως η επικείμενη επίσκεψη του Πρωθυπουργού μας τον Μάρτιο, που ύστερα από 40 χρόνια, θα δημιουργήσει ακόμα μια μεγαλύτερη δυναμική στις σχέσεις. Και έτσι πραγματικά θεωρώ πως αυτό μας δίνει και σε εμάς έτσι κάποιο ενθουσιασμό για να συνεχίσουμε όχι μόνο στο Τορόντο αλλά και σε άλλες πόλεις του Καναδά, γιατί ο Καναδάς είναι μεγάλος όπως ξέρετε, οπότε θα χαρώ πάρα πολύ να είμαστε κοντά σε αυτή την προσπάθεια, να έχουμε τη συμπαράστασή σας και πραγματικά ελπίζω πως και αυτό βάζει ένα μικρό λιθαράκι σε όλη αυτή την προσπάθεια.
Στην πρώτη συνεδρία που έγινε σήμερα είδα ότι η ενέργεια ήταν στο κέντρο.
Η ενέργεια είναι ένα πολύ σημαντικό θέμα και για την Ελλάδα και για τον Καναδά φυσικά. Όπως είπε και ο Υπουργός, ο Καναδάς έχει μια οικονομία 10-15 φορές μεγαλύτερη από την ελληνική. Αλλά στην Ελλάδα πραγματικά γίνονται σημαντικά πράγματα στην ενέργεια. Προσπαθούμε να αναπτύξουμε πολύ τα θέματα των εναλλακτικών πηγών ενέργειας. Δημιουργούμε αυτό το καλώδιο το οποίο έρχεται από την Αίγυπτο στην Ελλάδα και θα φέρνει ενέργεια. Επίσης ξανασυστήνεται ο EastMed αγωγός. Βέβαια όλα αυτά τα γεγονότα που γίνονται στο Ισραήλ τώρα καθυστερούν όλα αυτά τα projects. Αλλά πραγματικά εμείς κάνουμε και μια εκδήλωση στην Αλεξανδρούπολη κάθε χρόνο που δημιουργεί και αυτή η πόλη ένα μεγάλο δίκτυο πρόσβασης ενέργειας στις χώρες, στη Βουλγαρία, Ρουμανία και στη Μαύρη Θάλασσα. Γίνεται πραγματικά μια πολύ μεγάλη, θα έλεγα, κοσμογονία στα θέματα της ενέργειας στην Ελλάδα αυτή τη στιγμή. Η Ελλάδα μπορεί να διαδραματίσει ένα σημαντικό ρόλο και να γίνει μια πηγή, αν θέλετε, εισόδου στην Ευρώπη ενέργειας από πολλές χώρες στη Μέση Ανατολή και θεωρούμε πως αυτός είναι ένας χώρος στον οποίο θέλουμε να αναπτύξουμε πάρα πολύ. Είμαστε στο Λονδίνο μάλιστα και κάναμε μια αντίστοιχη εκδήλωση την περασμένη εβδομάδα και το κεντρικό θέμα ήταν η ενέργεια.
Ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ και συγχαρητήρια για
σας ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ για την φιλοξενία
και για την πατρίδα τη γενέτειρα και για τη δική μας πατρίδα.
Σας ευχαριστώ πολύ, να είστε καλά. Σας εύχομαι όλα τα καλύτερα. Ευχαριστώ πολύ.
Φίλοι μας, είναι μεγάλη τιμή για μένα και την Greca TV να φιλοξενούμε έστω και σύντομα στην Greca TV την εξοχότατη πρέσβη της Ελλάδος στο Καναδά, την κυρία Θανασιάδου. Ευχαριστούμε πάρα πολύ για αυτή τη τιμή. Να δώσετε το χαιρετισμό σας όπου θέλετε και τις εντυπώσεις σας για αυτό το φόρουμ.
Λοιπόν, σε όλους αντιλαμβάνομαι ότι η Greca TV πάει πάρα πολύ καλά, οπότε σας εύχομαι συγχαρητήρια για τη μέχρι στιγμής πορεία και εύχομαι τα καλύτερα και σε εσάς και στο κοινό σας. Δεν ξέρω τι άλλο να πω σαν χαιρετισμό, πάντως από την ψυχή μου τα καλύτερα, πραγματικά, στην ομογένεια.
Ευχαριστώ. Είστε αισιόδοξοι ότι φόρα σαν αυτό που για δεύτερη φορά γίνεται θα προωθήσει ουσιαστικά την εμπορική ανταλλαγή?
Όχι μόνο την εμπορική, τις συνεργασίες σε τομείς εχμής που ενδιαφέρουν και την Ελλάδα και τον Καναδά. Για το θέμα της ενέργειας και της τεχνητής νομιμοσύνης και τις διαστημικές συνεργασίες, αλλά και το κλασικό εμπόριο και τις συνεργασίες μεταξύ επιχειρηματιών. Άλλωστε, η διαφορά ανάμεσα είναι πιο αναβαθμισμένο το φερινό συνέδριο, διότι και έχει και συναντήσεις B2B. Άρα αυτό είναι δείγμα γραφής. Αλλά και η παρουσία του κυρίου Σομπάνη και πέρσι και φέτος, γιατί παρακολούθησα και τη διμερή συνάντηση που κάναμε με τον Υπουργό, η οποία ήταν εξαιρετικά πετυχημένη και είναι βέβαιο ότι θα φέρει αποτελέσματα και μάλιστα άμεσα. Άρα εγώ είμαι απολύτως αισιόδοξη.
Έτσι ήταν αισιόδοξη ο κύριος Πρωθυπουργός και μου είπε ότι παράπλευρα σε άλλες αίθουσες υπάρχουν επιχειρηματίες.
Συναντήσεις. Είναι αυτό που σας λέω. Η διαφορά φέτος γίνονται συναντήσεις B2B παράλληλα, δηλαδή έχεις επιχειρηματικές συναντήσεις. Αυτό είναι δείγμα γραφής ότι αναβαθμίζεται το συνέδριο και να κάνουμε το σταυρό μας να γίνει και του χρόνου και του παραχρόνου και πάει λέγοντας.
Σωστά, και αύριο ο κύριος Soleas διαβεβαίωσε εκδηλώσεις για να βοηθήσουν τα ελληνικά σπιτιά.
Αυτό
υπήρχε μια αύξηση από πέρσι.
Πολύ μεγάλη. Πολύ μεγάλη και αυτή τη βδομάδα αφού τελειώσουν από εδώ έρχονται στην Οτάβα που θα κάνουμε αντίστοιχα και στην Οτάβα.
Ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ.
Να είστε καλά, χαρά μου.
Φίλοι μας, είναι μεγάλη τιμή για μένα και για την Greca TV που φιλοξενούμε και πάλι physically αυτή τη φορά, γιατί ήταν από τους πρώτους που μας έστειλε ευχές στα εγγένεια της Greca TV στις 6 Δεκεμβρίου την περασμένη χρονιά. Έχω μαζί μου His Excellency the High Commissioner of Cyprus to Canada, Mr. Leontidis. I want to welcome you and I thank you for your great support.
Thank you. It's to tell you the truth, I didn't do anything, just saying hi and wishing you the best of luck. And you cannot realize the importance για τους ομογενείς Greca TV και έναν κανάλι όπως το δικό σας. It's very important because it's like it used to be. It's like the church. It's like we had the church before, when people used to gather around the church. Modern people, a lot of them, want is the internet. It's and this is you. This is you. So the responsibility and the work of Greca TV is of immense values στην ομογένεια to the diaspora community, but also beyond, because you give the right messages beyond the diaspora to Canada. So thank you, sir. Thank you, Bill.
Your Excellency, Greca TV is really honored to have an agreement to represent a RIC satellite, which we distribute free of charge worldwide.
We're very happy. Thank you, and we really appreciate disseminating RIC-SAT, RIC TV to all the Cypriots in Canada and beyond.
Thank you, and I'm really looking forward to in-studio long interview or Zoom interview.
We have
about
Bill, we have, like here Toronto Economic Forum, we try to have, to raise the flag of Cyprus in Canada, both politically but also financially, economically. So you said a long interview. Next year, as you know, will be the sad commemoration of 50 years of the Turkish invasion. So we'll have the possibility to say more, to gather people around and not only remember, but also plan and do stuff together in order, it's not up to us to find a solution, but it's up to us to influence those who matter.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Ο γενικός μας πρόξενος στο Τορόντο, ο κ. Αντωνάτος, είναι μαζί μας. Χαρά μας κάθε φορά που είναι στην Greca TV. Κύριε Γενικέ, πώς βλέπετε την όλη συνεδρίαση και είστε αισιόδοξος για τα αποτελέσματα τέτοιων φόρουμ?
Καταρχάς να πω και εγώ ότι είναι μεγάλη μου χαρά να μιλάω μέσα από το κανάλι της Greca TV και να απευθύνουμε στους Έλληνες οι οποίοι μένουν εδώ στον Καναδά. Είναι μεγάλη μου χαρά επίσης να βρίσκομαι για δεύτερη φορά εδώ στο Toronto Economic Forum. Είναι μια πρωτοβουλία η οποία έχει αρχίσει πλέον να βγάζει ρίζες και να εδραιώνεται και στη συνείδηση του επιχειρηματικού κόσμου και του πολιτικού κόσμου του Καναδά και της Ελλάδας. Έχουμε ήδη αρχίσει να βλέπουμε κάποια πρώτα αποτελέσματα στην ενίσχυση των επιχειρηματικών και οικονομικών σχέσεων μεταξύ των δύο χωρών. Θα πω ενδεικτικά ότι στον τομέα της συνοποιείας έχουμε αρχίσει να βλέπουμε ένα πολύ ένθερμο ενδιαφέρον της καναδικής αγοράς για τα ελληνικά κρασιά. Έχουμε ήδη μια πολύ μεγάλη επένδυση από τον όμιλο Μυτιληναίου, η οποία ξεκινάει στο Δυτικό Καναδά, και υπάρχουν επίσης πολλοί άλλοι τομείς οι οποίοι τώρα αποτελούν αντικείμενο περαιτέρω διερεύνησης μεταξύ Ελλήνων και Καναδών επιχειρηματιών και είμαστε πολύ αισιόδοξοι για τη συνέχεια.
Ευχαριστώ πολύ. Φίλοι μας, το καμάρι της ομογένειας, της παροικίας, είναι η Vassy Kapelos. Είναι γνωστή, the mainstream media personality that makes the Greek community proud, and I'm very glad for the first time I have the opportunity to interview her and give us her greetings for the first time for Greca TV.
It's my honor to be here. I'm so happy to talk to you. Thank you.
I'm very pleased, and I enjoyed the moderation that you did with the most important panel, and I'm looking forward in studio interview with you at length at some point.
I look forward to it. I'd be happy to anytime. Yeah.
How do you feel? How do you feel being a Greek in the mainstream media as a big star?
Well, I'm very proud to be Greek. I'm very, very proud of my heritage, and I feel very lucky to have the job that I do and get to interview people all the time and represent, hopefully, our community as well in the mainstream media. Yeah, I feel just very, very lucky that I get to do the job that I do, and I'm very proud to be Greek. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Vassy.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Φίλοι μας, ο κύριος Διονύσης Πρωτόπαπας είναι γνωστός στην παροικία μας. Είναι ο υπεύθυνος for trade στο ελληνικό προξενείο μας και ένας από τους οργανωτές. Θέλω να μας πεις, Διονύση, ξέρω τι κόπο έχεις βάλει σε όλη αυτή την προσπάθεια. Πες μας μερικές από τις δραστηριότητες που συμβαίνουν όχι μόνο στην αίθουσα της συνεδρίασης, αλλά και στις παράπλευρες αίθουσες.
Λοιπόν, πολλοί άνθρωποι έχουν δουλέψει για να κάνουμε αυτή την εβδομάδα της Ελλάδας στο Τορόντο. Έχουμε το συνέδριο που γίνεται αυτή τη στιγμή όλη μέρα εδώ. Έχουμε παράλληλα περίπου 45 με 50 επιχειρηματικές συναντήσεις στη διπλανή αίθουσα με ελληνικές εταιρείες που θέλουν να φέρουν τα προϊόντα τους στον Καναδά. Έχουμε εκδηλώσεις για startups σήμερα. Το απόγευμα έχουμε το δείπνο του The Hellenic Initiative για τους δικούς τους σκοπούς που είναι ευγενείς και είναι ήδη sold out. Και από αύριο έχουμε εκδηλώσει για τα κρασιά που είναι πάνω από 10 σε διάφορα εστιατόρια του Τορόντο. Το LCBO εγκαινιάζει το δεύτερο κατάστημα Destination Collection Greece για τα ελληνικά κρασιά στη Μισάουγκα, άρα θα εξυπηρετείτε το δυτικό κομμάτι του Τορόντο πλέον πάρα πολύ καλά. Στις 1 η ώρα αύριο έχουμε 30 ελληνικά ενοποιεία τα οποία θα δειγματίσουν, θα δείξουν τα κρασιά τους προς επαγγελματίες του χώρου, που δεν έχει ξαναγίνει, δεν έχει γίνει τουλάχιστον μια δεκαετία. Συνεχίζουμε με άλλη εκδήλωση για τις startups. Υπάρχουν δεκάδες άλλες συναντήσεις για όλους αυτούς που έρχονται από την Ελλάδα και παράλληλα οι εισαγωγείς κάνουν τις δικές τους εκδηλώσεις για την πρόθεση των προϊόντων τους. Οπότε είμαστε ευτυχισμένοι.
Είσαι αισιόδοξος ότι θα φέρει κάποια καλά αποτελέσματα όλη αυτή η δραστηριότητα?
Απόλυτα, γιατί και το περσινό συνέδριο έφερε. Πάνω στο συνέδριο χτίζουμε για νέες επαφές, νέες συνεργασίες. Φέτος είναι ακόμη καλύτερο το συνέδριο. Και αυτό θα λέγαμε ότι είναι sold out. Έτσι, σε όλες τις πλευρές. Οπότε γιατί να μην είμαι αισιόδοξος.
Σε ευχαριστώ πολύ.
Παρακαλώ.
Φίλοι μας, είναι τιμή για μας και την Greca TV να έχουμε μαζί μας τον πρώην πρέσβη του Καναδά στην Ελλάδα επί πολλά έτη, ο Ambassador Peck is really more Greek than Greeks, not only because he's married to a Greek wife, but his interest for our causes while he was the ambassador in Greece and even now, it's insurmountable. I don't think it's been repeated so far. Very pleased to have you on Greca TV.
Nice to see you again.
What do you think of all this now? This is the second forum in Toronto. What is your impression?
Well, I'm very happy to see a second edition of the forum here in Toronto. Last year was the first one, and there seemed to be a lot of interest to repeat it again this year. And I think it's a bigger and better event. We have more speakers, more varied program, and I very much hope this becomes a tradition.
I heard a lot of the presenters talk about energy as a viable subject for trade between Canada and Greece. Are you hopeful that we're going to advance in this area?
Well, I think Greece is working very, very hard to become an energy hub. And needless to say, Canada is a major exporter of energy. So Minister Champagne and Minister Papathanasis certainly discussed it today. I think we need to identify new areas for collaboration between Canada and Greece. And I think the energy sector is definitely one.
Ambassador Peck, you've been instrumental in creating really the Hellenic Initiative at the outset, I remember. And look what it's happened. It's a very good organization that we should all be proud of.
Well, you know, the creation of the Hellenic Initiative was a team effort. I like to think I played a modest part, but I do think that it's a charity that has been in existence since 2017. We're working tirelessly to ensure that we can make a difference in Greece. Obviously, there's a philanthropic side, but we also want to bring the two countries together in terms of business and entrepreneurship. We also want to give successful Greeks in the diaspora in Canada an opportunity to give back to Greece. And we think that we have found some creative ways for persons who would like to make a difference back in their chorio or in their region in Greece, a way to do that. So we'll be talking about that in our panel later today.
Well, on behalf of the viewers of Greca TV and our homogenia generally, I want to thank you for what you're doing and have been doing for both of our countries, Canada and Greece.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Φίλοι μας, είναι μεγάλη τιμή και χαρά για μένα να φιλοξενούμε για πρώτη φορά ένα από τα καμάρια του ελληνισμού. Δεν έχουμε και πάρα πολλούς στην πολιτική. Είναι η Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Tourism στο Καναδά φυσικά, αλλά και είναι υπεύθυνη για την οικονομική βελτίωση, νομίζω υπεύθυνη για όλο το Quebec.
Για το Quebec.
Χαίρομαι πάρα πολύ, παρουσιάσατε και συμμετείχατε σε μία από τις παρουσιάσεις. Do you think that this type of fora are going to be instrumental and will have good results?
Καταρχήν να σας ευχαριστήσω πάρα πολύ για το κάλεσμα να μιλήσω μαζί σας και μαζί με τους φίλους που μας βλέπουν αυτή τη στιγμή. Είναι μεγάλη τιμή για εμένα να είμαι από ελληνική καταγωγή και αυτή τη στιγμή να υπηρετώ το κράτος που πρόσφεραν και έδωσαν πάρα πολλά στους γονείς μου όταν ήρθαν σαν μετανάστες το 1957. Οπότε για εμένα το θεωρώ πάρα πολύ τιμή να προσφέρω την εργασία εργασία μου. Σας ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ. I think forums such as this is a very, very good tool that we should continue to use because it brings lots of voices to the table, both from Greece and Canada, to exchange, to get to know our economies and the economies of scale. Where do we meet? Because, I mean, Canada and Greece are very like-minded countries. We've demonstrated this over history where we're always on the right side of history. So I think that forums such as this are very important to get together and to discuss. And I congratulate the Delphi Economic Forum of Greece and also the Hellenic Initiative that have done an extraordinary job. This is the second year that I'm participating with great pride. And I believe that the federal government, through Minister Champagne, myself, and also a colleague who will be joining us later this afternoon, Julie de Brusen, whom I believe the Greek community in Toronto knows quite well. And it's an honor for me to be here.
Thank you very much for being here with us and good luck to everything you do.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Φίλοι μας, θέλω να σας γνωρίσω τον Έντι, το Σερέτη, για πρώτη φορά σαν πρόεδρο του Hellenic Heritage Foundation, το ελληνικό ίδρυμα κληρονομιάς. Φυσικά θα θυμάστε το μακαρίτη, το πατέρα του και φίλο μου, το Γιώργο το Σερέτη, υπηρέτησε σαν πρόεδρος του HHF και ήταν ένας από τους προτεργάτες μαζί με μένα και πολλούς άλλους που κάναμε το HHF. Χαίρομαι πάρα πολύ, Έντι, that you are carrying on the baton to the future as president of HHF, that your father, contributed so much. How do you feel being the president of the HHF, the new generation of Greeks?
Well, thank you for that. Very nice, Mr. Fatsis. For me, the HHF is very close to my heart. As you mentioned, my father, yourself, and many other Greek entrepreneurs, businessmen were created in the foundation of it. So for me, it's important that we carry on the good work. The HHF is almost 25, 30 years old. So for me, it's important we continue to do the good work that we do to grow the foundation and keep promoting and encouraging Hellenic culture, heritage in Canada. So I'm very proud to be the new president. I hope to continue that good work.
Well, I'm sure you'll contribute greatly, as much, if not more, than your father did. You're a lawyer. You have the antenna raised much more than the average person. Are you hopeful that this type of fora will help trade between Greece and Canada?
I think this event is a great event to help promote and build relationships between Greece and Canada. I mean, the HHF, we're involved in promoting Hellenic culture in Canada, but there's an opportunity even for the HHF to really have our membership grow their businesses in Canada if they can. So I think this event is great. It's great to have the dignitaries from Greece come to Canada to explain to us, show us how Greece is an opportunity for Canadians and really for everyone to invest in Greece. So I think this is a great event and we're happy to be here.
Andy, thank you very much for doing this. I'm looking forward to a lengthy in-studio type of interview to talk more in detail about the functions and the future plans of the HHF. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That'd be wonderful. Thank you.
Φίλοι μας, ο κύριος Γιώργος Soleas είναι ο πρόεδρος του LCBO του Οντάριο, ο οποίος προσπαθεί να προωθήσει τα ελληνικά προϊόντα όσο γίνεται. Μάλιστα, George, I think there's an event tomorrow in addition to the forum that you participate here today. There's something going on tomorrow. You want to explain that?
Absolutely. So tomorrow morning we are opening the second Greek destination collection for wines and spirits. It will be in Mississauga at the corner of Eglinton and Erin Mills. It is a beautiful LCBO store, and the section for Greece will have over 100 different Greek wines and spirits. It's going to be a lot of fun. I think the minister will be there. A number of officials from here as well as from the community will be there. It will be a fantastic event. Subsequently to that event at 1 o'clock there is a Greek wine tasting where 30 wineries from Greece will be participating, pouring some of their most wonderful wines. And as you know, Greece has come a long way. They have outstanding wines, and that's what what we're going to be tasting, some of those beautiful, tasty, unique varieties from Greece.
The Trade Commissioner for our Greek consulate, Mr. Protopapas, was telling me that today, in small rooms around this forum, there is face-to-face people talking business, and he tells me between the last forum that we participated here, and you did, there is an increase of about 50% in sales with Greek wine.
Yes, actually it's 59%. Year over year, Greek wine sales have increased 59%, which is wonderful. We can't sit in our laurels right now. I mean, we have our foot on the pedal. We need to continue doing what we're doing, do even more. All I say to the Greek wine industry and the Greek government is help us to help you. We are prepared to do more because Greece is producing some wonderful wines that align with the strategy that we have out there in terms of lighter, crispier wines for the younger generation, wines that follow sustainability practices, wines that are made by young men and women in Greece. So it's all coming together. I think it's a wonderful event, and we are raising the bar again and again, and we should get there for sure.
Well, George, congratulations and thank you for everything you're doing for the three of our countries, Cyprus, Greece, and Canada.
Let's just say something about Cyprus as well, because that's where I was born. We've just brought 8 or 9 wines from Cyprus, including Kiobiar, and as you know, Kumandaria, which is one of the oldest wines in the world. It will be in our stores. It will be online as well, just like the other Greek wines. They are wonderful varieties from Cyprus. They're indigenous varieties such as Sinisteri, Maratheftigo, and etc. So try them out, give them a chance, because they are at really good quality, wonderful wines that you can enjoy as we get into the holiday season.
Greca TV officially is a representative of Greek satellite, and we distribute that worldwide free of charge.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. Φίλοι μας, με πολύ χαρά φιλοξενώ στην Greca TV για πρώτη φορά την αφεντικίνα μας, γιατί η Greca TV είναι στα Tribras Studios του φίλου μας του Πίτερ Αποστολόπουλου και της οικογένειας του, αλλά η Πατρίσια ή η Παναγιώτα στα ελληνικά νομίζω είναι η Vice President της εταιρείας εκεί πέρα και συμμετείχε σε ένα πάνελ που το θέμα ήταν η κινηματογραφική εταιρεία που μπορεί να παίξει κάποιο ρόλο στις παραγωγές κινηματογραφικών εταιριών στην Ελλάδα. Patricia, your panel was very interesting, along with Steve Mirkopoulos of the former Cinespace Studios and Panos from Greece. I was really surprised to hear that it's such a great opportunity for companies, production companies and sound stages in great need in Greece.
Yes, absolutely. So we have gotten a lot of interest from international clients all over Europe and around the world, looking to us to work with us on different opportunities in different countries. So this increased interest have preempted, our business to explore different opportunities in Greece, for instance, being one of the main ones because, it is our patrida and that sort of thing. So in our discoveries over there, we're continuing to look at different opportunities, whether it be, building studios over there or exploring different opportunities. We're still doing our research stages, but one of our passions would be to be able to do something in Greece. And we're continuing the search, and hopefully we can help with that. It's a great opportunity. The economy there is strong, and the film and television industry is becoming that more strong every year. So we find it to be a good time to invest some of our research capabilities out there too.
Peter was telling me that he's seriously looking at possibilities in Greece in that area. One of the difficulties, of course, for all of us, for any really investor, has to be culturalized in a new attitude that Greece has evolved.
Exactly.
Bureaucracy is much better, taxation is more fair, and there is more stability in the market.
Yes.
So, and I think that's positive environment for Peter and Tribras to be seriously looking, expanding in this area.
Exactly, and a lot of the international clients and big production houses that we do deal with may want our model in Greece, and that's the beauty of it, is that we know what we've done here for over 10 years, and our hope is to be able to reproduce that. It's like going to McDonald's and getting a hamburger. Well, the experience you get, you want it to be the same in Greece. So if we are able to do something like that over there, we 100% will do it.
Well, thank you for being with us.
Well, thank you for having me.
Φίλοι μας, με πολύ χαρά φιλοξενώ για πρώτη φορά στη Γκρέκα TV τον κύριο Πάνο Κουάνη, ο οποίος είναι ο CEO, πρόεδρος της εταιρείας Ostracon Entertainment και είναι από τις πρωτοποριακές εταιρείες, νομίζω, στον κλάδο του filmmaking και παραγωγής κινηματογραφικών ταινιών στην Ελλάδα. Καλώς όρισες στο Τορόντο.
Καλώς σας βρήκα. Είμαι εδώ στο Toronto Economic Forum για να προωθήσουμε τις παραγωγές στην Ελλάδα. Είναι δύο πράγματα. Το ένα είναι να γίνονται international productions στην Ελλάδα σαν servicing και το άλλο είναι να στηρίξουμε τις ελληνοκαναδικές παραγωγές, να γίνονται περισσότερες παραγωγές εδώ μεταξύ καναδικών εταιριών και ελληνικών εταιριών όπως είναι η δική μας.
Πάνω εκείνο που παρακολούθησα στην παρουσίαση που κάνατε μαζί με τον φίλο μου τον Στίβ τον Μυρκόπουλο, αλλά και με την αντιπρόεδρο του Tripros, όπου φιλοξενεί και τα δικά μας στούντιο, είμαστε στα ίδια στούντιο. Εκείνο που μου έκανε εντύπωση είναι ότι υπάρχει μεγάλος χώρος για επενδύσεις σε αυτό το τομέα στην Ελλάδα και νομίζω ότι είναι ένας χώρος που ο επενδυτής μπορεί να βρει τεράστιες ευκαιρίες.
Ναι, αυτό είναι αλήθεια, διότι υπάρχει μια έλλειψη σε sound stages, σε πλατό στην Ελλάδα, γιατί υπάρχει πάρα πολύ μεγάλο demand πλέον από ξένες και ελληνικές παραγωγές, αλλά είναι πολύ limited το space που υπάρχει, οπότε είναι ένα πολύ μεγάλος χώρος για investment και κατά τη γνώμη μου το the next big thing στην Ελλάδα αυτό.
Τώρα τελευταία με την επίσκεψη πολλών ηθοποιών εδώ για το Toronto International Film Festival μου εξέφρασαν προσωπικά την επιθυμία πολλοί Έλληνες ηθοποιοί ψάχνουν για ευκαιρίες να κάνουν και παραγωγές και έξω από την Ελλάδα, αλλά αν υπάρχει μια εταιρεία με την οποία συνεργάζεται η δική σου εταιρεία μαζί με την εταιρεία των studios εδώ πέρα, υπάρχουν τρομερές ευκαιρίες.
Έτσι είναι. Η αλήθεια είναι ότι οι Έλληνες και οι ηθοποιοί αλλά και καλλιτέχνες, δηλαδή σκηνοθέτες, σεναριογράφοι, ψάχνουν να βρουν τρόπους για να μπορέσουν να κάνουν καριέρα στο εξωτερικό και νομίζω ότι οι εταιρείες όπως οι δικές μας τους δίνουν αυτό το πάτημα μέσα από συνεργασίες που έχουμε με εταιρείες στον Καναδά, εταιρείες στην Αμερική, εταιρείες στην Αγγλία και σε όλο τον υπόλοιπο κόσμο.
Πάνω χάρηκα πάρα πολύ
και εγώ και ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ.
Με κάθε επιτυχία.
Επίσης, ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ.
I'm very pleased to have someone who's important in the Greek-Canadian community. Mr. Nanos is in charge of research, δημοσκοπική εταιρεία στο Καναδά. Very credible. Very pleased to meet you.
Well, it's great to meet you too. It's great to join you and all your viewers.
And what do you think of this? If you had to do a poll, what do you think? It's going to be a good outcome or a bad outcome?
I think it's going to be a great outcome. There's a lot of energy about the Canadian-Greek partnership. Looks like there's lots of opportunities. Here's the kicker. We have to convert this into action. Go from less talk, more action, and I think that's what we want.
That's absolutely correct. I was speaking to the ambassador, and she told me that after the first forum last year, in terms at least of the sale of wines, it went up 57%. It's incredible.
You know, what's quite interesting is that the potential partnership between Greece and Canada on food, on solar panels, on energy, green technology, there are a significant number of opportunities, and it makes for very exciting times. So this is great for Greeks and Canadians to gather and talk about how we can work to create jobs and prosperity for both countries.
I want to speak to your brother too. Come over. We spoke before. His other partner, the other Nanos, they both serve the Canadian community, not only in terms of the polling, but it's an honor for us Greeks to have people like them with us. What's your impression of the forum?
I think it's fantastic. It's a great opportunity to bring people together, for Canadians and Greeks to forge closer economic ties. There's a large diaspora here in Canada, and I think it's great that we're bringing us all together.
That's great. Good to see you again.
It's great to see you as well.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
Χάρηκα πολύ. Φίλοι μας, χαρά μου είναι να φιλοξενώ στην Κρέκα ένα γνωστό όνομα περισσότερο στις Ηνωμένες Πολιτείες από εμάς. Είναι η Κατερίνα Ισκόκου, η οποία είναι αντιπρόσωπος της Καθημερινής στη Ουάσιγκτον. Χαίρομαι πάλι που για δεύτερη φορά σας συναντάω.
Και εγώ πολύ χαίρομαι που είμαστε εδώ στο Τορόντο για το δεύτερο Toronto Economic Forum. Προσπαθούμε ουσιαστικά να φέρουμε κοντά και να αξιοποιήσουμε τους πολύ στενούς δεσμούς μεταξύ της Ελλάδας και του Καναδά και στο επίπεδο του people-to-people, των διαπροσωπικών σχέσεων, και βεβαίως να αξιοποιήσουμε τη μεγάλη μας δύναμη που είναι η Διασπορά για να επεκτείνουμε και να εμβαθύνουμε τις ελληνοκαναδικές σχέσεις σε οικονομικό επίπεδο, αλλά και σε επίπεδο πολιτισμικό και σε επίπεδο ακαδημαϊκό, με συνεργασίες σε όλους τους τομείς που μπορούμε να κάνουμε περισσότερα μαζί.
Κατερίνα, ήσουν συντονίστρια σε ένα από τα panels, τα οποία έχουμε on record εμείς με την άλλη κάμερα. Θα ήθελα να μου πεις τις εντυπώσεις σου από το δικό σου πάνελ.
Θεωρώ ότι υπάρχει πολύ καλή και θερμή σχέση μεταξύ των διπλωματών μας. Το είδαμε και στο πάνελ αυτό, μεταξύ της Ελληνίδας της πρέσβη, της Καναδής της πρέσβης στην Ελλάδα, του πρέσβη Ιωαννίδη. Είδαμε λοιπόν ότι μεταξύ τους έχουν μια πολύ ζεστή και θερμή σχέση που σημαίνει και πολύ στενή συνεργασία. Αυτό είναι πολύ θετικό, γιατί βλέπουμε ότι όταν θέλουμε να αναπτύξουμε τις σχέσεις, οι πρώτοι άνθρωποι οι οποίοι δουλεύουν για αυτό το σκοπό είναι οι διπλωμάτες μας. Και αυτούς πρέπει να υποστηρίζουμε όλοι και στην κοινότητα και στη Διασπορά και στην Ελλάδα, ούτως ώστε να ξέρουν τι είναι αυτά τα οποία μας καίνε και τι είναι αυτά τα οποία πρέπει να προωθήσουν περισσότερο.
Ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ.
Να είστε καλά και εγώ χαίρομαι που σας ξαναβλέπω.
Φίλοι μας, φιλοξενούμε στην Γκρέκα TV δύο επιχειρηματίες που αντιπροσωπεύουν την εινοποιία και κρασιά εδώ στο Καναδά. Please introduce yourselves for our...
Γεια σας, είμαι ο Γιάννης Αναστασίου, είμαι διευθύνων σύμβουλος και co-owner της εταιρείας Μέγα Σπήλαιο και Καβίνο SA.
Καλημέρα σας και από μένα. Λέγομαι Κανάκης Γιώργος. Εγώ είμαι διευθυντής εξαγωγών της εταιρείας Καβίνο και Μέγα Σπήλαιο.
Πώς βλέπετε το σημερινό συνέδριο? Ξέρω ότι γίνονται πολλές δραστηριότητες στις διπλανές αίθουσες και μιλούσα νωρίτερα στον κύριο Σολέα, τον πρόεδρο του LCBO, και είναι αισιόδοξος ότι αρχίζει και βελτιώνεται η εικόνα. Do you think that there's improvement with this kind of fora? It helps your business in representing wines?
Αρχικά αυτό που δεν ξέρει ο κόσμος στον Καναδά είναι η ποιότητα του ελληνικού κρασιού, η οποία οπωσδήποτε και μέσω των ανθρώπων που έχουμε εδώ και φυσικά του κύριου Σολέα, που είναι ένας στυλοβάτης για το ελληνικό κρασί, πρέπει να μεταφερθεί στον Καναδό καταναλωτή. Και με όλες αυτές τις ενέργειες οι οποίες γίνονται συνεισφέρουν οπωσδήποτε θετικά στην θετική άβρα του Καναδού καταναλωτή προς τα ελληνικά κρασιά.
Ο κύριος Πρωτόπαπας μου έλεγε ότι από το πρώτο που έγινε πέρσι το ίδιο φόρουμ μέχρι τώρα υπήρχε μια αύξηση σχεδόν 50% στα δικά μας κρασιά.
Πολύ σωστά, έχει γίνει πολύ μεγάλη προσπάθεια και προώθηση ελληνικών κρασιών, αλλά έχουν μπει στην αγορά πολλά ποιοτικά κρασιά. Βλέπουμε, εμείς είμαστε 10 χρόνια εδώ στην αγορά, δεν είμαστε καινούριοι, και βλέπουμε πολύ μεγάλη διαφορά, ποιοτική διαφορά των ελληνικών ίνων που μπαίνουν στην αγορά. Αυτό που μας λείπει ακόμα και αυτό που πρέπει να κάνουμε είναι να επικοινωνήσουμε τα κρασιά μας, την ποιότητα, τις ποικιλίες, τα χαρακτηριστικά τους στο ευρύτερο κοινό. Οι Έλληνες, η κοινωνία προφανώς ξέρουν και εκτιμούν τα ελληνικά κρασιά. Ο στόχος είναι να πάμε παραπέρα.
Well, Greca TV was created to help the local Greek businesses to promote themselves. We distributed across the globe over 478,000 daily viewers now we have, and the majority of course is in our areas because we haven't done too much international marketing, but we'll be at your side in anything you do. Please let us know. We'll be on your side, and good luck.
Okay, it's our honor. Thank you very much for the interview. and we hope to see you again to this forum next year again.
Thank you very much, and you're greatly welcome to come to Greece. We have our winery open for all visitors, Megaspilio. So in Peloponnese, it's close to Kalavrita. You're free to come to contact with us, and we will be happy to see you.
Thank you. Φίλοι μας, είναι μεγάλη χαρά για μένα να φιλοξενώ στην Greca TV πάλι τον πρώην πρόεδρο του Hellenic Heritage Foundation, αλλά ακόμα είναι στο Διοικητικό Συμβούλιο. Τόνι, thank you for all you've done για το Ίδρυμα Ελληνικής Κληρονομιάς και συνεχίζει να το κάνεις. Σε αυτό το φόρουμ που μιλάνε για οικονομία και trade between Canada and Greece, you're a vivid example, right? You invested in Greece. How are you doing and what do you think is happening in Greece now? What do you recommend to other investors?
You know, it's a great question, and I have to say I'm pleasantly surprised with my Greek investments. I did it initially out of interest in it to learn about doing business in Greece, and I was expecting some difficulties and challenges because, you know, there's the perception out there of the bureaucracy and the challenges, but I have to say my experience has been quite positive. It was easier than I thought it would be. You know, everything has gone quite smoothly. And the performance of the investments has been quite great. I have two investments. One is a small hotel business that is more of a personal investment, and then I have my Fleet Complete business that has an office there, and Synergasia with Cosmote, a partnership with Cosmote, and that's gone phenomenally well. And the Greek market has been a great market for us.
Well, thank you very much. As I said, I wanted to speak to you, not only to thank you for what you're doing για την παροικία και για την πατρίδα, but it's tied up exactly to the point of all this forum, which helps and encourages people to invest in our home country.
Indeed.
Thank you very much.
Ευχαριστώ πολύ.
Και εγώ.
Ευχαριστούμε.
Φίλοι μας, ο Νίκος ο Παντιέρας δεν είναι μόνο φίλος, το γνώρισα επειδή είναι στην Εκτελεστική Επιτροπή της ΑΧΕΠΑ στην Άρωα. Είναι μουσικός, είναι καλλιτέχνης, αλλά είναι και ο founder ποιανού corporation?
Prime Corp Commercial Realty.
What is that?
It's a global commercial real estate firm that was founded in Ottawa with offices in Toronto and Montreal and across Canada. And we were acquired by George Marcus and Millichap, which is a fellow Phil Helene from the island of Evia, publicly traded company in the USA.
That's great. I want to congratulate people like you, Nick, that, I don't know, were you born here or grew up here?
Yeah.
You were born in Ottawa, right?
I was born in Ottawa. My parents came from Greece, both Greek, and they met in Ottawa as youth, believe it or not. Yeah, very young, 18, 19 years old, and I was born and they taught me how to speak Greek and love the Greek music and all that, and I give back to our community. It's very important.
That's what I admire. You give back to the community. You're so active member of the HEPA. We had great time at the Museum of History when you dedicated in honor of the Greek immigrants that came to Halifax by boat.
It was a very moving. My dad came through that 1959, so it was very moving. So I'm proud to be here, proud of the Delphi Economic Forum today, and to work closely with Greece. I work with a global capital group at Marcus and Millichap. I go to Europe, Expo Real and MIPIN in France and Germany, and we meet delegations from Greece all the time. So I would love the opportunity to invest in Greece.
Well, good to see you, and all the best in whatever you do.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the wonderful work you do, Bill.
Thank you, Nico.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
What a wonderful day this was, and I want to thank everybody for coming out and supporting the second Delphi Economic Forum that was planned together with the Hellenic Initiative. I've heard nothing but positive comments from everybody, and I think that there will be a third and hopefully many others, just on the strength of what took place today. My name is John Sotos, and I am the co-president of the Hellenic Initiative Canada. And I was expecting a podium, so I'm going to have to jump. Bear with me. I want to begin by thanking my co-president, Alexander Georgiadis, my executive committee, the board of directors of THI Canada, and the very many contributors. I would also especially like to recognize the unwavering support and dedication of our Director of Operations, Natasha Burliascu. Natasha, please stand. She has done the work of a team of probably half a dozen people in putting this event together, and she's done a wonderful job. So thank you, Natasha. My sincere gratitude to the many sponsors of this evening's event for their generosity. THI Canada also wishes to acknowledge the presence this evening and the continuing support of Alternate Minister of National Economy and Finance, Nikos Papathanasis. Minister, you now have a new nickname, founder of this conference. So we hope that you will help your foundling grow. I'd like to also recognize Simeon Somokos, founder of the Delphi Forum. Simeon is he's got the organization that puts this whole show together. And I don't think there's anybody in Greece, in fact in much of the world, that Simeon doesn't have a direct contact with. He's able to attract the quality of speakers that spoke to us today. So Simeon, thank you, and I hope you have the spirit and the courage to want to continue doing this with the Hellenic Initiative. I'd like to recognize the Ambassador of the Hellenic Republic to Canada, Her Excellency Konstantina Athanasiadou. Thank you for your unwavering support and that of your people. I would also like to recognize Canada's Ambassador to the Hellenic Republic, Her Excellency Karina Aslan. Karina has also been a stalwart supporter of the work that the Hellenic Initiative is doing. And in fact, she flew in for this event. And she also flew in for a day when we had Minister Dendias on an official visit with Madame Jolie in Montreal. So that's really going above and beyond, and we thank you particularly for your dedication. And with your help, we'll do a lot greater things. I'd like to recognize the Consul General, Panagiotis Antonatos. And Panagiotis, thank you for your support and that of your entire office. We couldn't have done it without you. Annie Koutrakis, Member of Parliament and Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Tourism and Minister responsible for Economic Development Agency of Canada. Annie, thank you very much. Annie, by the way, in addition to being here, has been, together with Bob Peck, instrumental in getting all kinds of hard-to-get people, speakers to attend our program. So thank you, Annie, and thank you, Bob, as well. I know you're modest, but I think it's appropriate to recognize you. Effie Triantafilopoulos, MPP and Parliamentary Assistant to the Ontario Minister of Economic Development, Job Creation and Trade, and fellow student at my high school. So we go back a long, long way. I'm pleased to also welcome Deputy Minister of Development, Maximos Senetakis, senior officials from the Greek government and public service, and representatives of the private sector who have traveled to Canada for today's events. It is also a privilege to welcome two other distinguished guests, and former colleagues of mine, the Honorable Andromache Karakatsanis, the first Canadian of Greek heritage named to our highest court, the Supreme Court of Canada, and who is now the longest serving justice on that court. So thank you Andromache. And the Honorable Ria Zimas, Justice of the Superior Court of Ontario, who is also kindly joined us as well, and thank you. Finally, I would like to thank each and every one of you for your love of Greece and your interest in the Hellenic Initiative's mission. I'm very encouraged by the direction Greece is taking and the constructive role it is playing with both the European Union and on the international stage. It's a source of pride of the Greek diaspora that Greece is becoming known as one of the best governed countries in the Western world today, and with the restored credit rating to boot as of last Friday. So here for Greece. The Hellenic Initiative Canada was launched in 2017 and has become a respected charity that focuses its work entirely on Greece. We work closely with civil society organizations throughout Greece that make a real difference to the communities where they operate. We recently expanded our mandate to support scholarships for outstanding students to develop their talents in Canada and who aspire to return to Greece and contribute their talents to our ancestral homeland. In that regard, I would like to recognize the generosity of the Kapelos family, as well as the support of Ambassador Aslam, the team at the Canadian Embassy in Athens, and the Podosaki Foundation, who has agreed to match our master's level scholarships. So thank you all. Just before dinner, I was advised that the Kapelos family is also going to make an additional $40,000 donation to the cause of the Hellenic Initiative. So, Steve, again, thank you and your family for your generosity, but more importantly, thank you for recognizing the work that the Hellenic Initiative Canada is doing in Greece, and thank you for supporting it. Greece, as you know, has made huge strides since the depth of the economic crisis under the leadership of Prime Minister Mitsotakis and restored its reputation internationally. However, both reform efforts and economic recovery are more likely a marathon than a sprint. Challenges remain, and there are needs that can't always be addressed by governments alone in towns and villages across the country, often affecting the most vulnerable in society. Here, civil society plays a key role, but funding is essential. Please keep the Hellenic Initiative Canada in mind in your charitable giving, especially during the upcoming holidays. While philanthropy is one of our key objectives, we believe that renewed economic development is fundamental for our homeland to succeed. It is for this reason that we encourage and supported the return of the Toronto Economic Forum for a second year in Toronto, and I think by all accounts, it was a resounding success. The Greek-Canadian diaspora is an obvious bridge to build new synergies between Greece and Canada. I need some help. I'll get there. Ultimately, the goal of the Hellenic Initiative family is to harness and leverage the power of the 300,000 persons of Greek heritage in Canada and the 6 million worldwide to contribute to Greece's success. It's up to us to build on the legacy we have inherited from our forebears for the greater good of your homeland. Όλοι μαζί, we can make a real difference. And who better to rally the Greek-Canadian diaspora? Yes, indeed. My sincere apologies. The problem with recognizing people is you forget somebody. And I omitted to recognize the presence, not just tonight, but the entire day, of the High Commissioner of Cyprus to Canada, Mr. George Leontidis. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to continue working with you. So in terms of concluding my remarks, I'd like to do so by asking the best person I can think of that can rally the Greek-Canadian diaspora, our very own Vassy, Kapelos. Vassy, if you can please come up. Vassy, for those of you, I don't know if there's anybody here who doesn't know her, is a CTV News chief political correspondent, host of CTV's weekly political journal of record, Question Period, and host of CTV News Channel's weekday marquee political program, Power Play. Before joining CTV, she hosted the highly regarded political program on CBC as well as Global Television Network. She is also behind the microphone on the weekday national radio program, the Vassy Kapelos Show, on the iHeartRadio Canada Talk Network. She was born in Toronto and is a two-time Canadian Screen Award winner. She has lots of more accolades to her name, but I think I'll stop right here and hand over the mic. Thank you. Vassy.
Thank you so much, John. Thank you, everybody. My resume makes me sound a whole lot more excited. I'm just a Greek girl from the Danforth. It's such an honor to be able to bookend your day. It was a great pleasure to participate in the panel with Minister Papathanasis this morning and Minister Champagne. And we've got a great discussion for you this evening. I know that you're all hungry, so we're going to stave off dinner for a little while longer. Enjoy your wine in the meantime, because my next guest probably knows more about that wine than anyone else in the room. I don't say that lightly. George Soleas joined the LCBO in 1997 after serving more than a decade in the Canadian wine industry and was named President and Chief Executive Officer in 2016. His diverse education includes a Bachelor of Science from McMaster University, a diploma in enology from UC Davis, as well as a Master of Science and PhD from the University of Toronto. He's a current member of the Board of Directors of the Retail Council of Canada. George is also one of Canada's best credentialed wine experts. I wasn't kidding. He was appointed to the Jura de Saint-Emilion and Chevalier du Tasman wine organizations, as well as the Keepers of the Quake, which I recently found out is like the Scotch experts of the world. His widely published research focuses on the biochemical aspects of beverage alcohol constituents and their effects on humans. I know a little bit more about the latter than the former, but George can tell us about both. I'd like to bring George up onto the stage for our discussion. So there are a lot of people in this room who live in Ontario, but there are a lot of people who don't even live in Canada here as well. And I thought I'd start off by asking you, George, to kind of explain, if you could, for everyone, what the LCBO is. What's your mandate? What does it do?
Well, great to be on stage with you, Vassy, and I want to say thank you to the Hellenic Initiative, as well as the Delphi Forum for the invitation, and also to the former ambassador of Canada, Robert Peck, who's been a great advisor and a great friend as well. It's also great to be on stage to discuss a subject which I am so passionate about, which is the LCBO wine, and specifically Greek wine. And by the way, as a proud Papu, I just found out that Vassy has a 2.5-year-old son, and I have a 2.5-year-old granddaughter. So I'm starting the synegestion, as they say, on stage. But anyway. So I've been the CEO of the LCBO for the last 7 years, and with the LCBO for the last 25 years. Many of you obviously are not from Ontario, so you wouldn't know the LCBO. Quite often they call us the Liquor Control Board of Ontario. We don't control anything. We are actually a retailer. The Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario is actually responsible for the Liquor Control Act. The LCBO was formed in 1927. I wasn't around those days. It was right after Prohibition. Every province in Canada has a very different model of how to sell beverage alcohol. In Ontario, we have what I call a quasi-monopoly system, although many call us a monopoly, which I hate that.
We have about 680 retail stores in Ontario. We are a retailer, a wholesaler. We're probably the largest beverage alcohol purchaser in the world. So we run 680 retail stores. We have a wholesale division that supplies the grocery stores, the LCBO convenience outlets, the beer store as well, and 18,000 restaurants. And as you know, in Ontario today, because of the current government that we have, restaurants can actually sell beverage alcohol to customers. And so do 450 grocery stores. So the market is quite open, and in fact, this government is working to modernize the market even further. So that's why I say we're a quasi-monopoly organization. We also buy, as one of the largest buyers, from more than 80 countries from around the world. So I always say that the world is our shopping basket. And we don't just buy, we also bring innovation and ideas to the Ontario market. And we operate 3 brands, the LCBO, Vintages, and Food and Drink. And we've just celebrated 30 years of our Food and Drink anniversary. The other thing that I think it's important for everybody to know is that although the LCBO has started social responsibility in 1927, and it has been part of the LCBO, today we operate what we call the spirit of sustainability at the LCBO, which is based on 3 pillars: good people, good planet, and good partnerships. And we're very proud of that. And this is something that we look for when we purchase products from around the world. Are the products that we buy and are the suppliers that we buy from practicing sustainable practices? And I have to tell you that I'm very proud that most Greek producers do. So that's basically who we are in a nutshell, at a very high level, Vassy.
So we have a lot to discuss about the story of Greek wine and how it's kind of transformed and its presence in Canada has transformed. But before we talk about that, you gave us the story of the LCBO, your own story, your, the way in which you came from Cyprus, the age at which you came, your trajectory. Talk a little bit, if you could, about that, and in particular, your roots in Cyprus.
Yeah, I mean, my career has been anything but a straight line. I was born in Cyprus, became a refugee in 1974, lived in a refugee camp for quite a few months before we were able to come to this amazing country. To me, this country is very special. It is, I couldn't think of me living in another country. And when I came to this country, I felt that I have the opportunity to be anything. I have the opportunity to do anything. I worked in restaurants, put myself through university, and Vassy spoke about my education. Ended up in the wine industry when the wine industry in Canada was in a huge crisis. The LCBO discovered a potential carcinogen in wines, and because it was mishandled, it became a huge crisis at the time. The world lost billions of dollars. So a winery called me up and asked me if I was interested to set up their quality assurance. And that was the beginning of my career with the wine industry. And I have to tell you, it's been my passion. I love what I'm doing, but I also love how the LCBO helps me and helps us to contribute back to the government almost $2.6 billion a year. Out of $7.6 billion in sales, $2.6 billion of that goes back to the taxpayers of Ontario. Money that goes into healthcare, education, infrastructure projects. And in addition to that, it also helps us to work in 300 different communities where we can raise funds for our own charities, which is the Ford Children's Hospital Foundation, the Women's College Hospital, the United Way, and many other charitable organizations that we work with.
Everybody